Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sunday SmackDown. We're back, me and Maito, and as many of you will be aware, we're currently hosting, well, I say we, but I mean EscapeAoE and myself, a $4,000 LAN tournament, and that will be on Twitch in July. It's coming. It's less than a month and a half away. Links in the description below, but as you can imagine, there's been an absolute ton of games played, and tournament season is always incredibly hectic when it comes to casting, so that's why you haven't seen much from me and Maito in the way of SmackDown. But with that out the way, we can resume regular programming, take SmackDown off the back burner, so to speak. I think SmackDown is sort of a good way to keep content ticking over in between tournaments. It seems to come in these massive bursts and then nothing for a while, so I like that. But when tournaments are on, I think we need to put SmackDown to one side, because every available casting opportunity has to go to the tournaments, because there's just more games than you could possibly cover. We never cover all of them. But yes, the LAN qualification tournament is now over. The top 8 have been decided, and we'll be flying them to Manchester, expenses paid, to compete at the Escape studio. As I said, that'll be happening July 11th to 14th, so over 4 days. And I'm really looking forward to that. It will be the first LAN in over 10 years. So, yes, do tune in and perhaps come and watch live if you're sort of in Manchester or not too far away. Links will be in the description if you're interested. There's going to be lots of people there. But, yes, if you're interested in watching games from the qualifiers, I'll put links to the Escape YouTube channel below. But without further ado, enjoy the video. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sunday SmackDown. Players will begin in the Discovery Age with a fort wagon from the get-go. So, immediately as the game starts, we will see forts being placed, possibly in base, possibly securing resources and trading posts and things like that, but possibly up in their opponent's face, dumping them down right next to their opponent to rush or just to, deny resources, something like that, something very aggressive. I do wonder, though, because forts take 50 seconds to train, right? So if you place that right next to your opponent, they're going to see it. They're going to bring their explorer, their scout back, and by the looks of it, Ruga, there he is, the dire Ruga, finally playing a SmackDown. We convinced him to do it, versus Azamk. Yes. And there are the forts wagon. This is absolutely wonderful. This is what SmackDown's all about, and I am really excited to see where they go. Immediately, Azam's fort sending across the map. The Ruga also sending across the map. I wonder if they're going to go, straight in the middle or something like that. But, 50 seconds.
Why is Ace is sending 2 villagers forward? I think this might be just place wall segments to block the placement of that fort or something, maybe?
That sounds amazing. But why the middle? You can get so much siege. You're exactly right. There it is. That's brilliant. Azamk on it already. But he's just going to play. He's found a place for it, and now Ace is...
Oh, but the animals... Okay, doesn't get to block it.
And there was... Yeah, didn't quite stop it there, and he's lost a little bit of villager seconds, so to speak. But yes, welcome everybody to an interesting thought. I want to see some new patrons this time for this one, because this was a lot of work to put together. Eagle Mutt enabled the fort, and what he's also done is enabled the fort so that the Asian dynasties and war chief civilizations can construct units out of the fort, which they weren't able to do otherwise. Also, this is incredibly early for Maito. It is incredibly late for Azamk, and I'm just very excited to be here. So if you want to support SmackDown, please do so. All of the prize monies is being saved up, and we will use it to fund the $50 prize each week. But yes, Maito, can I get your thoughts on this format to begin with? So it is normal supremacy, except players start with a fort that clearly they've both put in the middle of the map.
Well, I was sort of thinking that it's going to make colonial irrelevant a lot of the time, except that if you're going to place a fort in the middle like this, I think you could actually play pretty aggressively, because you can just sort of walk past the fort in this particular game. At least, just look at the position of Dairuga's fort. I think Ace could actually be aggressive if you wanted to, and sort of vice versa. So, I don't know, I'm kind of interested. Both players have, a lot of industrial age cards, so they're kind of expecting it to go later as well, because of just the nature of how unkillable the fort is in early stages of the game.
Yeah, the fort is for sure a big deal. I think I was just checking the deck there, and when it happened, he decided to say it was laggy. I'll load them both up now so that we can get that out of the way. But you're absolutely right. There's a ton of industrial age cards, and especially for Azamp, he's got a lot of siege in there. He's even put 2 infinite rockets in. He's anticipating this going very late game, and even heavy fortifications. He's going to upgrade walls and outposts immediately with this card all the way to their fully upgraded status. So that's a very prepared late game deck.
Yeah, and come to think of it, heavy fortifications makes a lot of sense with the fort as well, because it does upgrade your fort on top of that. So
oh, that's interesting.
Normally something that wouldn't be relevant in a normal game, where heavy fortifications is still a good card if you're going to use all those other buildings, but because you already have a fort and you're going to be building those other buildings, it could actually be quite good.
I'm just looking. Yeah, upgrade Star Fort. And I think that's it. No, and Revenantment or Revetment. They are the 2 fort upgrades. One gives you extra HP, and the other gives you extra HP and attack. But we'll see how this pans out. My initial thoughts are similar to yours, right? Because the Fort Wagon is such a defensive, high HP building, it's very, very strong. It does 150 damage, area 3, and that means 2 Falconets in the Fortress Age just will not be able to stand up to it, and the fort has enough range to counter the Falconets. So Falcs just aren't going to cut it. You're going to need more than that to take it down. Petards are a thing. We'll see if they come out, but they are very expensive, right? They're not cost-effective units. However, they do kill things very quickly. But yes, as we can see from the players' decks, both players seem to think that this will go late game as well. Azamp going to be going with 3 villagers followed by Virginia Company here, and it's just come in, so now dumping down a couple of manor houses, and villagers still on wood. There's a 3rd manor house, Gangsaw coming in as well. Diaroga also thinks this will go late game. We can see from his decks as well that he is prepared, not quite as much as A's, but certainly does have some the strongest French industrial shipments in there. 14 skirms, 6 cuirassiers, and 8 dragoons are the 3 top units. Normally you wouldn't see them, right? In standard supremacy, those cards not quite so strong, but that is the beauty of Age of Empires 3. Suddenly when you change the format, you get this whole deck dynamic, and that changes up as well. But let's take a look at their age ups here. Text complete, we will see, and it looks like Azamp went up with the Philosopher Prince, so that on SmackDown patch is the 500 food politician, the 400 food politician, and it costs 100 food less. What's in here?
Ignore my flare. I just somehow completely misclicked on both the flare and the minimap at the same time.
Nice. That's impressive. Well done. But to continue my train of thought, let's take a look at why Diaruga went up with the Quartermaster, so the 400 wood politician here. I was speaking to A's earlier, and he said he really likes that 4 cows and 3 villager shipments. And maybe we'll see that out of him later. The 4 cows and 3 villagers is upgraded from just 4 cows, but he is playing as British, and last time he used that politician, he did lose, if we remember, in the very first SmackDown. So we'll keep an eye on how that progresses. But 5 cavalry have come out of the fort here. That's the interesting thing, right? You can play in the colonial a bit because you essentially get a free barracks and stable.
Yeah, and this, like I said earlier, this fort placement doesn't actually really defend anything for Diaruga. So if he's just planning on thinking he can just go up to Fortress Age for free, which his macro sort of seems to suggest, he's not quite correct in that with that fort placement. So going to be losing at least 1 villager here, forcing the Minutemen.
Yes.
Going to be delaying that age up a little bit.
Trades it off for essentially, we'll call that 2.5. That is nearly dead Hussar there, but did lose a couple for it. Do you think that's worth? He forced Minutemen as well, so must be.
I think it's definitely worth it. Yeah. Like he's forcing the Minutemen and killing a villager for not even 2 Hussar is pretty good. And then on top of that, you get to see all the information about what your opponent's doing. You get the Hussar to, continue applying pressure later on in the game as well. So it feels like it's pretty good to me.
And all that good stuff. But
Diaruga, it might also... Sorry to cut you off again. It might also make Diaruga think twice about maybe going straight up to Industrial or anything like that.
Yeah, okay, we'll see how that goes. But he has decided to go straight up to the Fortress Age, the Marksman in queue, which will deliver 6 skirmishers upon age up. Not totally for free. Azamk has forced a villager and Minutemen there, and here comes the Hussars again for round 2. But currently, Britain doing some raiding, but at home, behind this, Virginia Company, 700 wood, 5 vills. That's an absolutely solid boom. And coming back just as the Minutemen now have 1 HP, going to finish them all off.
Tyrga actually even trading a few musketeers from his own fort and transition to fortress there just to make sure he can be, not having as much idle time against these raids and potentially defend this trading post.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just 3 musketeers. 3 musketeers. Takes down the explorer there, and Ace sees it and decides, no, I can't stay here and destroy that fort. I'm going to keep, trading post. I'm going to keep my 2 hussars alive. They're very low HP, but they could come back at a later date to be a nuisance. But Maito, look at all these manor houses. When they only cost 88 wood each, that means you can absolutely dump them down. And I don't know how many he's got there, but
I think it's 91 wood on EP.
91 wood. Oh yes, they do. They cost
pretty sure. But either way, still very cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying all units. Will that tell me how many manors he has? Yes, he's got all 20 manor houses, and you can see from the unit population in the top left that he is doing absolutely crazy in terms of this boom. That is very, very impressive. We'll see how it pays off, though, because as you mentioned, the fort in the middle of the map, it's not really defending anything, although it does mean you can guarantee the attacks will come, I suppose, either from this passage or perhaps the south passage. Nothing is really going to go through the middle of the map, so it does add that. But, Ruger, whatever his name is up to the Fortress Age now. 1,000 coin on the floor, and we're going to see military production. And I wonder if A's will be a little bit slow. He's nowhere near the Fortress Age. He's just clicking up, right? But he's not got units. It could be tough for him. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm just thinking Dairuga's actually clicking up to industrial at the moment.
Oh, no aggression then. And they're making a church. Yep. Brilliant. Okay.
And this is something that even in a normal supremacy game, British sometimes has trouble dealing with, because they start aging so much later than other civs, and their age up takes so long that sometimes the other civ can just be industrial by the time you get fortress, and then you don't have any units yet, you don't have any vet upgrades, and it can be really difficult to deal with. Making another batch of 5 hussars, there's not a lot of units here to really defend against those hussars. I'm pretty sure those 3 musketeers is not enough to deal with this, so he does have dragoons in queue at the moment, but we'll see what these hussars can do.
Yeah, skirms, a few musks there. I think this will be satisfactory to defend it off. Might just go in there and take the fight anyway. Try and trade them off, try and kill a few skirms. There's only 3 musks, however there is the town centre fire, and Ruger doing a good job of kiting the skirms back towards the town centre here.
Yep, the dragoons are out now for Dairuga. They're on their way to defend these skirmishers. But overall, I think this is still a good trade for Ace, as long as he doesn't lose every single hussar.
That could be an issue.
Well, actually, here. Okay. Well, even losing all of the hussars, he forced a little bit of idle time. He killed probably, I think, 3 or 4 skirmishers and 3 musketeers.
So it seems reasonable.
Overall, it's a reasonable trade, yeah.
Yeah, and let's take a look back in Azam's base. He aged up with the longbow politician. There's 7 longbows coming out for free, and Ruger now up to the industrial age. Went up with the tycoon politician, and we see 1,000 gold on the floor just being gathered up there. So he's got a lot of gold, or he's shipped a lot of gold this game.
And despite being slower to the Fortress Age, Ace is already halfway up to Industrial behind this, so he's not going to be super far behind on that. I don't actually know anything about the... Wait, Ace sent the church card as well, apparently.
That he did.
For Highlanders, I assume. Dairuga did not send church cards, so I'm not actually certain what his church is for.
Yeah, the church is not in... he doesn't have that church card in his deck either. Mind you, it's only 100 wood. We'll see where that goes. But first shipment from the Ruger is the factory wagons here. So neither player super interested in sending military and getting aggressive just yet. They're both quite content to, boom, so to speak. But Azamk has a much stronger boom, right? That Virginia company early on, the 5 villager shipments. I feel like A's, he's in a good position right now, but we'll see how it continues. That's just my thoughts at the moment.
Okay, I see why he sent why he built the church. He researched mercantilism with that 1,000 gold from the age up.
That makes a lot of sense.
And if you're ever going to get mercantilism, this is probably the only time that it's worth doing. I'm actually not even certain that it is still worth doing, but...
Well, that's why he got so much gold, right? He went up with 1,000 gold, he shipped that 1,000 gold, and that's a lot of gold. So mercantilism here, he's got 2 shipments available. We should have seen that, right? Factory wagon wants to get that early, and has now sent the 2 heavy cannons. He's got a few dragoons to defend them, but nothing's really pushing in against heavy cannons just now. And second factory coming down, so quickly catching up in terms of boom. We'll see as soon as that factory's up. Now completely even on villages, essentially. The factory being worth about 10 vills, assuming the upgrades are done. But Azamp, he has something different in mind. He sent the Advanced Church, which can be thought of as an Industrial Age card, since it does give you a bonus in the Industrial Age as well as the Fortress Age. You can ship Rogers Rangers, which I think costs 2,000 gold and gives you 20 skirmishes or something like that, and also the Highlander upgrade that Maito mentioned earlier. But also, Azamp, he sent the advanced fortifications, heavy fortifications there, and now has essentially these fortified outposts with their bombard damage. Eight dragoons here coming from the Ruger. Well, these are Azamp's dragoons, but I just saw 8 more arrive as a shipment. So using those Industrial Age cards, the really, really strong ones in his deck, trying to do something on the other side of the map here, distract him with these dragoons, and the Explorer has been woken up as well. Now going to continue scouting with that, but wants to destroy this trading post, maybe draw the Diaruga away. Here he comes, dragoons streaming across the map. So France going very, very heavy on the dragoons here. Oh, and by the looks of it, Maito, this explains why he has 2 heavy cannons and is training them from his factories as well. That's a solid composition if I ever saw one.
Yeah, except behind this, it looks like, Ace has an artillery foundry. He has the option to make culverins if he wants. And his artillery shipments are nothing to scoff at either. But going to be training 2 mortars first instead of culverins, so forget that. But he does have the option to build culverins at some point.
Yeah, I guess he wants to take this middle portion of the map here. These mortars are exactly what you need. These are very, very solid, strong against buildings. And so rarely do you see them in 1v1 supremacy. 500 bombard damage and completely out of range of the fort. Look at that. 4 heavy cannons now in play. Let's take a look at text complete and see. He's got mass production as well, meaning that the heavy cannons will be rapidly being produced from the factory, pardon me. Here we go. So this is just as effective though, right? 4 heavy cannons are going to make short work of a fort.
Oh, these goons are just going straight in for those rockets. There's not enough to really defend them. Although, rockets and heavy cannons don't have a reduction against cavalry like other artillery, so they still deal with the goons effectively enough. So actually not going to be a big problem. So yeah, that fort's just going to go down. And the extra 4,000 HP on this fort, Azamp's fort, gonna make it not so easy to take out.
Yeah, with those upgrades, right? God, he's got 12,000 hit points, and he's pressed the repair button as well. So it's super effective to repair. Like the cost stays the same essentially, but the improvement or the amount of HP it gets back is much faster. The rocket's trying to get in range of the heavy cannons there. They do fire. They take out a little bit of health. In the back here, the mortar's moving forward. What's more effective? I don't know. Are rockets good against heavy cannons? It seems like they are. He's taken down 2 of them.
Yeah, they have higher base damage by quite a bit, so it seems like they actually do quite well. I mean, of course, they have less hit points, but I think that damage is usually what you want from cannons and stuff like that. And the 2 rockets coming behind this, and this is looking pretty good for Ace. He doesn't have a lot of units left to really defend cannons, though, so he still has to be a little bit careful.
Rogers Rangers, there they are.
Oh,
Perfect
I
against
forgot
the
about that.
Dragoons. Oh, brilliant. And Diaruga says GG to the first game. He lost his 4 heavy cannon shipment and now feels like that since the Rogers Rangers have arrived, with all this siege behind it, still a mortar in play there, that he cannot go on. But really, really solid builds from both players. They both had in mind what they wanted to do and executed it, but I think Azamp gets the best of him here. That was game number 1, and I really, really enjoyed that.
I completely forgot that Rogers Rangers is a thing. Just see the British church cards so infrequently.
Yeah. It's not. It's a thing, right? But it's this is where all of Azamp's experimenting. That's an interesting adjective, but yes, he has done a lot of playing, right, with these kinds of things back on Nilla and indeed on Tad right now. I think is very experienced with lots of different parts of the game. So when it comes to these different formats, he's usually quite prepared and has something in mind that will work, and that is what happens today. But let's take a quick look at that post game before we get into game number 2. Yeah, as you can see, tremendously more resources. Has gone, with that Virginia Company boom and ended up with a lot more resources in the late game. In terms of military, I think, we see the spike here from Diaruga. He was ahead sort of earlier on, but, once the heavy cannon factories got up and rolling and up and running, sure, he had a good position going into the late game. Lots of factories, lots of cannons, but the 3 rockets were enough to deal with them, and at that point, you're dealing with someone with a much bigger economy. It was an interesting game, though, and I'm ready for game number 2, Maito. The map pool will be the same as the New World Championships. Both players get 1 veto each. Diaruga vetoed Deccan. Azamp vetoed Florida. The map pool I've pasted in the chat here. The second map, therefore, will be Baja, California. Azamp has to pick his civilization first since he won the previous game. He has elected to go with China. Diaruga now gets the counter option. Still on France from the previous game, he can still play French since he did not win with them. Azamp, however, cannot play British for the rest of the series since he was victorious with the British just now. So Diaruga, he could green in here with the French, or perhaps we'll see a switch. Normally I'd ask you, Maito, what you think his civ choice might be, but considering we now start with fort wagons, that changes a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm not really sure I can predict exactly what people are going to play, but Dutch makes sense. China also makes sense. Should be interesting. I think I have no idea how this plays out with fort wagons. I think China might have some interesting aggressive builds with the forward fort, going fortress or industrial really fast, but I mean, is it really that aggressive when your opponent also has a fort? I'm not really sure. So
yeah, I mean, they can do exactly what you can with the fort. I'll be interested to see where they put it. There are 3 trading posts, and there's a big pass in the middle of the map, right? You could put the fort down there. The middle one's quite hard to wall, especially because of the trading route that goes through it. So perhaps that's the best place, like we saw in the previous game, in the middle. But more importantly, Baja California is a bit more closed off, I would argue. And then with those smaller chokes, you could perhaps wall them up and really secure the late game. It's interesting. But either way, it will be Diaruga playing as the Dutch in the color blue, spawning on the left-hand side of the map. We'll see where his fort wagon goes. I like Dutch as a decision. Solid economy with the banks, but also they have an envoy, and I think that's really important in this format where you have extra scouting units. You can see what your opponent's going to perhaps do with that fort wagon, how they intend to play with it. But currently fort heading straight towards the middle, it would seem. Let's take a look at his opponent's fort wagon. This one going a little bit on a trajectory further south, could be using it to scout, possibly could be going or having something else in mind. Maybe wants to go get the fort round. I think I know what he's doing, Maito. This fort is being sneaky. It's going to go all the way around the map. It's going to stay hidden, and it's going to place itself very close to Diaruga's base. That's what I think this fort wagon will do.
Yeah, it seems like that's the case. A is also grabbing this middle trading post as soon as possible. as that is the most likely place for the enemy fort to go. He wants to get that down as soon as possible so he can get that down, or so he doesn't have to get harassed by that later on while he's trying to build that in transition,
Yeah.
or something like that if he tries to go for the trading post later on. Um, and also, just one thing I want to point out about Dutch. You pointed out the envoy, but I'm thinking that in a format like this where, you know, you're a lot more likely to have longer games to go into the late game and stuff like that, Dutch sort of would like to be on a map where there's water, because you only have 50 villager population as Dutch, right? But in a super late game situation, you would really like to have some fishing boats in addition to that. So I think that Dutch has a lot of really strong late game options on this kind of map, especially with a tool like a free fort wagon to help drag the game out to that point.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. And maybe that's why we're seeing Dutch now, because this is one of the few maps with water, especially since Azamp vetoed Florida later on. So this might be the one opportunity Dairuga gets to play Dutch here. But on the map so far, it looks like the Ruger, he has gotten a market and is getting his early hunting dogs here. Azamp, however, built the trading post as we saw and is now picking himself up 80 wood. Let's take a look at the other treasures here. Ruger's gone off to quite a few smaller treasures, and he's found himself the 60 wood as well here. But getting caught by the Explorer, thankfully, he does have a fort in the middle of the map, so it's quite a safety net he can go to. And indeed, he could just stand here and siege, but that seems like it would be a waste of time, perhaps, just going idle a second there. But we'll keep an eye on what treasures he collects. But importantly, we'll switch over to shipments sent and take a look at their decks in a moment. Northern refugees arriving for Azamp. We'll have a look at the other cards, but the fort is now up. It has just been constructed. It has been located by the envoy, so he knows it's there, but it is very far back. And I was thinking perhaps A's was hoping to keep it hidden, but, you know, Ruger's going to find it eventually. And with this fort, it looks like he intends to play quite aggressively. And the fact that Dairuga placed his fort in the middle of the map means he cannot use it defensively here. So this is interesting. I wonder if it's worth delaying your fort placements until you know what your opponent is doing with it.
Yeah, I don't like placing the fort in the middle of the map, to be honest, because, I mean, I guess he could also be aggressive with it, except that Dutch, in general, can't really be aggressive. And I think because you can't be aggressive, you don't want to place it in the middle of the map, actually. Like, sure, you close off this choke point a little bit, you're going to be shooting at any units to try to come through here, but, like you're saying, yeah, he can't, it's actually going to serve almost no function in this game. You know, both players are probably just going to go up to Fortress very, very fast. There might be some Hussar raids, something like that, but nothing unusual you would see in you wouldn't see in a normal game, right? But for A's, he's just going to get up to Fortress, you know, very standard, but this time with a fort on top of his opponent's base, and with Dairuga's fort out of position, it's just not going to help assist him at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because the other function it plays is it's a barracks and stable combined, and it's an awkward spot. This is often the issue with native trading posts. You just don't want to train the units because they're just in random places. You've got this building in the middle of the map that's sort of, and then when the units are created, they have to walk across the map to do really anything, defend or be aggressive or whatever it is. Thankfully, Baja California has actually been made slightly smaller than it was before. Garges made a few edits to the map, and as a result, it is a smaller map. So that's going to help. It is in the middle there, which is a reasonable position, but it could be, it's not like having a barracks or stable in your base and you can combine a batch of units popping with, say, Minutemen and a shipment or something like that. But that is the case. Both players now up. Pardon me, Dairuga is up to the Colonial Age. Looks like Azamp, however, is taking his sweet time, going up with the Porcelain Tower. Lots of villagers on there to compensate, and has sent Northern refugees, as we'd expect, but also good faith agreements. Maito, what does that card do, and can you tell us what he might have in mind?
So good faith agreements makes the consulate shipments, so not the consulate armies, so like 6 redcoats, stuff like that. That stuff's not affected, although it does train faster with good faith agreements. It's more about the stuff like, you know, the German resource trickles, the French crates and stuff like that. All of that stuff is cheaper. And so he could be doing some sort of build with that. I imagine 300 export will be his first card. Oh, wait, actually, ooh.
Well, he's not quite
okay,
got
so
a shipment.
it just occurred to me that so there's a few allies that China has available to them, right? They have Germans, which gives them the resource trickles. They have French for the crates. They also have the Russian consulate, which gives them access to another fort wagon.
Oh, baby. Okay.
So I feel like that's what's on Azam's mind right now.
And then you
with
stack
this
all the
good
upgrades,
faith agreement card.
possibly. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he can even research the upgrades, because China, they don't usually have access to forts, and it's only because Eagle enabled them to be able to gain resource, be able to train units that they can. I'm not sure if that applies to upgrades. And also, before we get into that a bit more, I want to point out some pikemen have spawned at this trading post. Well, they've spawned at the fort and are now sieging it down nice and quickly. Currently, no units in queue from Azam's fort here, obviously because he took a while to get up, but is now researching coin crates from the French, which will be arriving very, very shortly. And chests of 700 coin as a shipment as well. And now the food coming
and
from
also training a standard army from his fort just to harass a little bit.
Yeah, that's come out. Okay,
but
taking down this explorer. Maito, do you remember the exact wording of the fort? Because actually, and Azam is aware of this, I told him, and both of them actually, before the game started, that the fort wagon build limit is not changed. You cannot place a second fort until the first fort is dead, because your build limit is still only 1, unless, of course, the tech or shipment actually increases the build limit. So if you remember the exact wording of that Russian tech, then that could well be relevant.
It seems like that's maybe not what he's going for, since he's already got all the French crates here. I don't like this build. I don't like this particular variation of the Chinese FF for a few reasons that I'm not going to get into right now.
But tell us that it is an FF, right? And what he's doing is, 700.
Well, it's not actually an FF.
Okay, tell us what it is.
It's actually an FI, because if you're going up to the second stage at the Porcelain Tower, that means that you want to go up to Fortress either with the Summer Palace or the Confucian Academy. If you're going up with the Confucian Academy, the Fortress, that's going to give you 8 skirmishers, so you're going to be really aggressive with that. But instead, he's going up with the Summer Palace, which gives you 1,000 food. And we can see he's switching all these villagers to gold, so he's actually going to be going up to Industrial really, really quickly once he hits up to the Fortress Age. That was a mouthful, but that seems to be his intention at the moment.
He's going to the Industrial Age.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that makes sense, right, based on what we saw earlier. But this is such a strange fort placement then. Maybe it was to keep the option of aggressiveness open, or maybe it was just to also make Dairuga think that he's going to be aggressive. But interestingly, it also denies the water, like you were talking about a bit earlier on, right? This fort has a great anti-ship attack and could well be instrumental in preventing Dutch from getting that really strong economy that they will want if the game goes super long, which it could well do in this format.
Yeah, for sure. I think you cut out for a minute there, so I hope you're not talking still while I say this. But
no, I'm not.
Also, he's just going to be going up to Industrial, well, I was going to say a lot faster than Dairuga is, but this harassment might prevent that. But the fort is pretty much unkillable for Dutch at this point, right? He still can't nearly mass enough units to kill that right away unless he, ships petards or trains petards or something, which he can't do fast enough. So it's still going to give him a forward shipment point for these really, really strong unit shipments that China has in the Industrial Age. If we take a look at his deck, he's got a lot of unit shipments in there. So he can still play very aggressively, but it's going to be very aggressively in early Industrial rather than in early Fortress. And he'll be clicking up pretty soon. He'll get those 12 skirmishers at that forward town center. And it looks like Dairuga has sort of sniffed out that this is the plan. Probably pretty obvious when you look at Azam's deck. Confucius Gift. So he's going to be moving across the map with his units and just trying to deny resource gathering and stuff as much as possible.
Yeah, coming in now with skirmishers, and Reuters there to do a bit of damage. But yes, the Industrial Age is in queue for the Azam. Can you tell us a bit about Confucius Gift?
It's an interesting shipment, that's for sure. So basically, it makes
shipments arrive instantly, more or less.
Yeah, shipments and technologies research instantly. So he could just stack up these shipments, right, and then wait until Dutch commits to something underneath a shipment point. Of course, China has all of these shipment points: the villages, the town center, the fort in this game. And once Dairuka stands in an unfavorable position, he can pop like 2 or 3 shipments at the same time,
And they're
which is
strong
really
shipments.
really strong tactically. Not so strong in terms of resource value, but you know.
Yeah. It's yeah, as a shipment, it's not really supplying any resources, right? Like, it's not giving you a tangible bonus, but what it does do is something that could result in, like, swinging a fight massively if your opponent doesn't expect, like,
Yeah,
a bunch
and
of
if you
shipments.
and if you look, he's about to hit industrial. He could pop a ton of units from this village pretty much instantaneously when he hits up here. There's going to be 12 skirmishers. He hasn't sent a shipment yet, but he could send one soon. He has sent one
There it is,
now.
it's coming now, but where will it spawn? Where is it spawning?
It's not. It looks like it's not quite instantly, but it's very close to. It takes a few seconds. Okay, so yeah, gonna clean up this army. He did lose a lot to this harassment, though. He got a lot of idle time on there. A couple vills died. I lost a village, and I think he lost the market as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, he lost the market.
Yeah, so not the greatest situation for him. However, Dairuga, not at all close to being up to the industrial age himself. And, yeah, but even though he's not up to industrial himself, looks like he's got an artillery foundry up. He's training some falconets. But he has sort of set up a situation where half of Azam's army is on the right side of the map in his base, right? So they can't really easily get to Dairuga's base to join up with anything that might want to pop out from, you know, Azam's aggressive fort. And so this kind of makes it so that Dairuga can actually be, you know, sort of aggressive. He has a little bit more map control with that fort, and it's actually being relevant in this sort of situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is now relevant, right? And he's gotten his 2 falconets here as well, and here's some more skirmishers, 8 skirmishers coming out of the fort there, and it looks like Dairuga, no intentions of going industrial, but does have a big military at the moment in terms of, well, units, right? Like, he's committing to the Fortress Age by the looks of it, and is trying to mess up here.
Yeah, and he's gonna have a pretty strong timing with these falconets, perhaps. He's not training a whole lot of skirmishers, mostly focusing on cavalry. Vet Huss now coming in. Might be his time to go when that upgrade finishes. Meanwhile, Azamp just, you know, sitting on his shipments. You know, no reason to be spending them when you get them so quickly. Might as well wait and see what your opponent's doing, wait for him to come into, you know, a position that's favorable for you, and then you can choose which shipment.
Yeah, then you know what unit to send, and you can ship the correct counter, and really you can ship them all at once, and they arrive on top of your opponents here. But the Dairuga setting up now with his falconets.
Before we get too far into this, I don't think this card will be super relevant. But Ace does have the Woku pirate and petard. No, it is relevant. He just sent it.
What the hell? What? There they are, 10 petards. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so he wanted to wait until he saw where his opponent's army was before he committed to this, but he can kill a lot with these petards.
Yeah, because the army's all here, he knows it's safe to ship them.
It only takes 2 petards to kill a bank, and so he's gonna kill the town center. He's gonna 2 banks. Look at how much XP he's getting for this.
Yeah,
he's getting so much XP for killing this that he's just gonna get that whole shipment back that he just spent on this. In addition, doing a lot of damage to Dairuga's base and economy.
Oh my goodness!
So he now has 2 shipments in his bank right now that he can invest into defending his base.
Yeah.
He literally got a full shipment off of those petards.
That was basically free. I mean, it cost 1,000 gold, the shipment itself, but he had that ready, and it's like basically replaced itself, that shipment, right? He managed to do a bunch of economic damage and get the shipment back off the back of the XP. That's amazing.
It's really, really good. However, his town center doesn't seem like it's gonna live. He doesn't have population space to send any unit shipments or anything. Yeah. This is actually kind of an awkward situation for him. He's building a village in the back of his base, but losing the town center. You know, he doesn't actually have population space. He can't actually do anything to defend this right now. Yeah. But thankfully for him, these meteor hammers on the north side of the map here are going to be distracting these Reuters a little bit.
They don't cost population, Moto.
The Rattans? Yeah, I didn't even see him send the Rattans.
They're Rattan shields. They could be sent without population. This is brilliant.
And one thing about these Rattan shields as well that's really good against this unit composition is that, well, actually, I'm not sure about Reuters, but Dragoons actually don't bonus against against Rattan shields.
Really?
For some reason.
What the hell?
So these Reuters don't actually bonus against these Rattan shields.
What on earth is happening? So for those that are wondering, these are cavalry units, right? Well, they're like coyote runners, but they're not counted by dragoons and possibly Reuters. So actually, they're just incredibly strong. And now they're gonna clean up all these hussars, and after that, they can go in and fight the falconets, which have nothing defending them.
Yeah, although apparently they don't do very well against hussars, so not very many gonna be left over. Flying crows in an awkward situation against these Reuters, but yeah, this is actually pretty awkward for Ace.
Oh, okay. I guess
I think that Rattan fight he was kind of expecting to go better, but I mean he's trading them off for the majority of the Reuters here, so it's not the worst trade in the world. Daeruga finally rebuilding that town center. And another shipment on the way for A is going to pop out soon. Here it is, Levenchang Downs on top of all the cavalry. This is going to be a really nice trade for him.
That was... Daeruga's just like, what? Stop it. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. And that's exactly what you want from melee infantry, just to spawn and start doing damage immediately here. They got the snare, they killed a bunch of Cav and Reuters, and but now at range, the Cav have gotten away. There are some Reuters here, and they're in a bit of an awkward spot. They're going to be, you know, the Reuters, if microed properly, can sort of pick them off at range. Those Changdao up here, sort of trying to find a target. Okay, let's take a step back here and reassess the situation. So, Azam, he spent down his shipments. We're not going to see any more incredible pops, although the Confucius Academy is still there for when he does get a new shipment as it organically progresses. But in terms of villagers, he's got 32 economic population here with very few upgrades. He is in the industrial age. His opponent is not, but Dutch, they did lose a bunch of banks. He currently only has one bank by the looks of it. As a second one up in the north.
He has three.
I found the others, yeah.
I'm not sure exactly where they all are, but the UI says he has 3.
And the main fourth one now going down as well. So, and he's gotten his town centre up and running, and his economy is going to be much better. So, after all that's said and done, Azam had a good run there, but it looks like Daeruga's replacing those buildings, and his economy does look stronger than Azam's.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, Ace, you know, he doesn't have the economy to rebuild his town centre either. So behind this is looking pretty awkward for him for sure. He's now switched over to the Russian consulate. So, you know, we were talking earlier about how it might not allow you to construct a second fort, right?
Yeah.
However, you know, that fort was free. Who cares? Maybe you just delete the fort and you replace a new fort wagon somewhere. He has that option available to him.
A more relevant position. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he could also just get the blockhouse, which you can train units from on the ESOC patch, not so on the official patch, sadly. But he could get that to sort of help him secure a little bit more of the map or defend his base here.
What units does it let you train? Is it Russian units, Strelets, and Musks?
It just acts like a normal Chinese barracks or academy.
See. God, I think that would be really cool though to have access to barracks and stuff like that. That would be kind of musketeers and Strelets or something. But
that would be kind of cool actually. But yeah, nothing gonna be able to defend from these hussars for now. So just gonna be pushing with his small army to try and compensate for that. He's gonna lose a lot of villagers potentially. Yes. He needs to sort of be able to get a shipment in time to defend that. But even if he does get a shipment, I don't know if he can defend that. Some vills trying to sneak away. Flying Crow also going to be sneaking away. But yeah, he's going to lose a lot of vills here. Well, actually, there's not as many vills in that village as I thought. But yeah, definitely still a really awkward position for Ace. However, his army now approaching the location of all of Daeruga's villagers who are now frantically running towards the safety of the town center. So he'll be able to respond in turn a little bit here. But at the end of the day, I don't know if he's going to accomplish too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an awkward situation for Ace for sure.
Hussars on top of those.
He just spent all of his export, so we'll see what he's choosing to do with that. Also, some units going to be aimlessly walking through the middle of the map and dying here. I should stop distracting away from the main fight at this town center though, where Ace is sadly losing all of his units. And villagers being idle on the right side, a lonely Flying Crow as well, sitting next to the coast. Trying to wait for the day in which it will be useful, which will probably be never.
Yeah, who knows when that day will be, but yeah, it looks like he's going to be repelled.
Oh, of course. Of course, it's a factory. That's what you go for with the Russian consulate.
Oh, that makes sense. That's going to be helpful. That's a lot of resources.
I can't believe I
5.5.
forgot about this. I play so much China.
You do. That's pretty much where we've... Oh my... He's not happy. What's going on? Oh dear, look at the base! 3 flying crows. He sent the ever-victorious army.
Yeah, and he managed to clean up a good number of skirmishers, it looks like. Unhappy about how this game is going, despite being in such a good position at the moment. Still no town center being rebuilt for Azamp. Yeah, the economic unit population not looking good for A's at all at the moment.
No, he's basically half. It's not ideal. And that factory, it's actually representing more economic population on this graph than it should. The upgrades here, it says 10 villages, and that accounts for the upgrades, but this is just 5.5 wood per second. Nothing to scoff at, but it's not the upgraded factory. So it really looks sort of bleak for A's in terms of economy. But, you know, that was a strong shipment there. It's going to give him... It cleaned up Dairuga's army, and if he can kill some villagers, he might be able to even it out a little bit, but that is a big, massive units.
Yeah,
from,
however, the Flying
Dairuga.
Crows, they do okay. Well, they do have a reduction against cavalry, but they do sort of do okay. But there's too many SRs here, I guess.
Yeah.
Even if he can clean up a few of the units with the Flying Crows, they are going to go down. And yeah, that's going to be GG. Unfortunately for him, that forward fort didn't actually achieve anything.
It didn't do too much, did it? I mean, it shot down any kind of water play in the early game there, and it did act as a potential spawn point. If it made it maybe, you know, I say potential because it could have forced Dairuga into playing some sort of, you know, playing defensively or worrying about it or thinking there was a rush coming. But ultimately, not an interesting position that didn't seem to pay off in this game. Yeah. God, I love how the map's like... I don't know. I don't know if you can see it, but the explosion from the Flying Crow is completely paused, and it's just like this firework in midair. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Kind of a cool time to have the game paused.
But that does bring the score up to 1-1 in this SmackDown. That's what I'm talking about. I'm really hoping for a good long series here. But let's take a quick look at these graphs, and you can see Dairuga's economy absolutely solid all game long there. China rushed up to the industrial age, but then the economy was really not quite as strong as his opponents. In terms of military units, I think Azamk really hoping for a good fight under his base where he could use Confucius Academy to ship a bunch of shipments and really take a strong fight. But Dairuga handled the Rattan shields very well. The petards seemed very effective, but ultimately it only did, you know, temporary damage before he replaced those banks and things like that. Didn't really, you know, cause units to die, something like that. But an interesting second game. Azamp gave it a good run, and I thought that was a really entertaining strategy. And it seemed quite effective, although didn't take the win in the end. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 3 in this best of 7 series. Map number 3 will be New England. Dairuga must pick his next civilization first, as he won the previous game. He can no longer play Dutch since he just won with them, and afterwards Azamk will pick his counter. Dairuga going with China by the looks of it here. We'll see what Azamk picks in response. He could play the China mirror, that is possible. Azamk didn't win with China in the previous game. However, he cannot play British, as he did win that in the first game. But basically, we can't know how the fort will affect the game because we've not tested it or played it before. But it does look like Azam wants to play the Aztecs. Any thoughts, Maito?
Trying to think of like what advantage Aztec really gets from having a fort. And I mean, it's just a free military building. They could do something, you know, pretty aggressive with that early fort because they don't have to spend time constructing a war hut. But then again, your opponent has a fort, so you can't. I guess one thing about Aztec on this map is that normally Aztec sort of has a little bit of trouble dealing with, you know, like caravels in the pond and stuff like that. But with a fort wagon in the middle of the map, you know, that's not going to be a big issue. So maybe Aztec is a little bit better on New England than they otherwise would be. But other than that, it doesn't really seem like there's a super clear reason to pick Aztec over anything else. However, Aztec Fast Industrial seems like it will be quite strong with a fort. and I do expect Diaruga to bring that out at some point. We'll see if A's chooses to do something similar.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting into game number 3 on New England here. I think we need to think more outside the box. You mentioned Aztec Fast Industrial, and you expect it from certainly Diaruga. We'll see if A's does it now. But when I say outside the box, things like Rogers Rangers, things that we would, normally forget about, Confucius Academy, things that Azamk would think up because it is Azamk. That's what we need to think of. Does Azamk has anything? Does the Aztec have anything, or the Aztecs, we could say, like that A's might take advantage of? We'll check his deck, and then maybe we'll answer that question. But let's take a look at those fort wagon placements. A's immediately heading out into the middle of the map here. Perhaps he'll put it down in this very important area of New England, the 2 entrances to each player's base. Or perhaps we'll see it go even further. It doesn't look like it wants to be put down just yet. No, it's going to go on the trade route, but slightly towards Diaruga's base. Going to perhaps defend the pond and the ocean and this trading post all at the same time, and also as a forward building to be training units out of. However, Diaruga placing it at home just in front of his base here. So that could really be telling of what he has in mind. But yes, those are the fort placements. Let's take a look at the explorers. Diaruga, the monk, has decided it wants to build a trading post and has headed that way on the map. And the Aztec explorer has headed up straight into sort of his opponent's area here, picking up 90 coin on Diaruga's side of the map, and perhaps we'll find the sheep nearby. He does not find his own sheep. He's rushed to his opponent's side, perhaps with the intention of coming back for these later. But actually, Ruga, he has picked up a couple of sheep here, and likewise also taking a treasure on his opponent's side of the map there.
This is kind of random, but I have never seen fish spawn in the pond before.
Oh.
So it's a little bit unusual and probably won't come into play at all since there are 2 forts already locking down this fort. Or, this pond.
Huh.
Especially that one spot. But yeah, I've never seen that before.
There are fish jumping up and down in other locations, but they're not actually fishable, whereas this one is something you could task a fishing boat to. Also kind of random, why does the fish have 100 HP? Like, you can't do damage to fish. Or can you?
I don't know. Everything has HP in this game.
It does, yeah. I know.
Although, as far as I know, the only resource that actually takes damage is trees, and you need to actually bring the trees' HP to 0 before your vills actually start gathering from it.
Yeah, that's true. But
and I guess hunts.
I wonder if you can deal damage to fish with area damage or something like that. Interesting.
I
doubt it matters.
I don't think
like
so, because you can't deal damage to gold mines. So I'm assuming you can't to fish, but
or crates. Yeah, that's probably true actually. But yes, unlikely to come into play, but certainly interesting. Let's take a look at the treasures then. So A's 90 coin, Diaruga 60 wood, and Diaruga second treasure is a Native American warrior. He's also got 2 sheep and a goat, so is leading on the goat count here. Pardon me, the goat comes for free. I know that, but still winning in terms of livestock. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Definitely in the lead in age 1 here. 135 XP coming in as well.
I think I just watched the most disappointing split of units against Treasure Guardians I've ever seen. I don't know if you were watching him take that treasure.
No, I don't.
But I don't. So. He had so he was tanking with the Tomahawk, which is fine, except he split each of his 3 units onto different units. So he was just taking a lot of extra damage on that Tomahawk, I think. But anyway, it's not a big deal. But he lost the Tomahawk when he didn't really need to lose the Tomahawk, which could have given him a big advantage in this short little skirmish here. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be a super big problem. Just going to take a look at how things are going in the game right now. Azamk has constructed a trading post. His Explorer is also hanging around the middle of the map here. He can potentially train some Puma Spearmen or something like that to take out this own China's own TP, which it looks like he is doing. And this first trading post that Aztec has built is pretty much free at this point because he doesn't have to build the war hut, right? So that's definitely going to be nice for him.
That's interesting. Yeah, you can perhaps even build extra ones or something. But Wonder going down. Wall.
I mean, it's just 2 giant buildings with lots of HP right next to each other.
Okay, that's true. Very tanky. Functionally a wall, right? Is rushing up to, the colonial age. He's not even in the fortress age yet. I thought perhaps he was. But that is the case. So, earlier in the game, I mentioned about looking or thinking outside the box. Let's take a look at Azamp's deck and see if there's anything interesting in there. Nothing super unusual, and not actually a super late game deck either.
You have the standard A's card, right? You have the Coyote Strike shipment that makes your Coyote runners stealthy. I don't know how relevant that will be in this matchup, but I mean, it's an A's shipment that I've seen win a lot of games, so when he's streaming or something like that. So it's something to watch out for later on. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's a pretty normal looking deck, aside from maybe a slight absence of military shipments in the Fortress Age.
Yeah, although he does instead have these essentially mercenary shipments. I don't usually see them in Aztec decks, right?
I think the Eagle Runner shipment is pretty standard in every Aztec deck, just because it's insane to have 4 extra range on your Eagle Runners for later in the game.
Oh yeah,
but
that's almost the same as Genitors, especially.
Yeah, you get 16 range, which is it's just insane for a unit that's already like super good.
Yeah.
And then the Coyote Runner card is good, but not one you usually see. Yeah.
But if we take a look at Diaruga's deck, a lot more of a late game focus here. Does have lots of extra military units, including old hand reforms. Nothing crazy like the 10 Petars that we saw in Azamp's deck, but is geared up and prepared for a much longer game than perhaps his opponent's deck would suggest. So A's looking to win this, not in the Industrial Age, will probably be more aggressive. It has got lots of Fortress Age potential, but certainly isn't looking to drag it out to the long game. He wants to win, somewhere in between.
Yeah, so one thing I like about both of these civs on this map is, well, I mean, New England is actually a map that's actually rather low gold when you think about it. You've only got 4 mines on each side, so a total of 16,000 gold. Split that 8,000 by each player, and the gold mines run out very, very quickly. And both of these civilizations have, armies that aren't totally dependent on gold, which is going to be very good. You can see, like, Diaruga obviously has invested in that old Han reforms, which is going to be quite good on this map, where he's not going to need to use those gold mines, and he can just save all of those gold mines to use for techs and stuff like that. All the way up until the late game, which is quite good. Same thing for Azamp. He trains Coyote Runners and Mace Holden, which use wood. So I think that's a smart choice, or a smart thing for the Civ choices. I don't know how intentional that was, as New England isn't a map that people have really played much on until very recently, or at least not for many, many years at least.
That's true. Yeah.
It's gonna be good for them either way.
Yeah, I'm pleased you mentioned that as well. One of the design choices me and Garja talked about was putting this extra mine on the island. I wonder if that will ever be relevant indeed in this game, or perhaps any to come for the New World Championship. But those are the Civ picks, possibly some insight there. But Azamp has shipped Fencing School, which is usually not a great card, right? But you just want to be building more military buildings. If you need units to train more quickly, then you build a second building, and that's, you can train more units. But what do you think of that? I suppose it does improve the boom, right, on the fire pit. It does make these warrior priests spawn a bit quicker.
Yeah, that's like the main reason you send it, I think. He's sort of replaced 3 warrior priests in his deck with Fencing School. And that basically just means that, he gets the same advantage of sending 3 warrior priests, but then he can also train units from this fort a lot more quickly, which is definitely going to be nice. And he can always replace those warrior priests from the fire pit as well if he ever loses them. So, Fencing School is just a very nice card overall for this type of build.
Here we go. 7 hand mortars have arrived, and China has a little bit of army there as well. These are very strong against buildings, right? You can see it starting to take damage. 5 bombard attack times 16 versus buildings, and I don't think Aztec is prepared to deal with this. He doesn't actually have any military units just yet, so this fort, and indeed the trading posts that it is defending, are probably going to be threatened.
Yeah, it looks like the fort's definitely going to go down before he's even close to going to Fortress. We can see he's dropping a war hut back at home. anticipating that it's going to go down. And yeah, he's probably going to lose some of these trading posts as well. So yeah, definitely a good card for this situation for sure. 7 hand mortars is normally a much more situational shipment as China. You normally only want to send it if you have to deal with falconets, for example. But yeah, normally not something you'd send against Aztec, but definitely going to be very good against forts.
Yeah, right. Usually you don't have to deal with forts so early on. So actually, you know, being used here to deal with buildings where they're often used for against artillery, right? So here are sort of going to be effective. Take down that fort and quickly bring down this trading route here. But doesn't look like Diaruga is intending to go up to the Industrial Age. He's going to play it out in the Fortress Age for a bit, perhaps seek an age later on, but intending to be aggressive now and doing a good job of it. Taking down the first trading post very, very quickly here. And this route is, I don't think, long for this world, and it is Stagecoach. So A is going to have to do something about that, or his opponent is going to get a nice economic advantage.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it is going to buy a lot of time for him as well. Like, all of these units could be in Azamp's base, killing him with his 0 army instead. But instead, they're like, oh, but I'd rather just take trading posts and, you know, get my economy up. But as a result, Aze is going to have time to send the 4 unit shipments that he was sitting on when he hit up to Fortress Age. So he's, you know, give him a couple of minutes and he'll have a pretty respectable army against this.
And that time is something he's essentially getting for free, perhaps, because he's, well, not for free, but he's not in his base killing him, as you said. Here, though, the warriors that he trains going down quite quickly.
Yeah, don't think they really had much of a function anyway.
Yeah.
He probably just figured, might as well just walk them in there, see what I can see. If they die, they die. Not like they cost anything. I wonder if, I think fencing school might affect warriors as well. And here we go. Smoking mirror on that explorer, gonna make him very, very fast. And look at this really nice split from Diaruga, splitting up the hand mortars like that, so that the area damage doesn't affect all of them. But Ace instead just focusing on killing the infantry. Only kills 1 unit with that swashbuckler attack, but
yeah, so
probably more useful than killing 1 hand mortar anyway, because these hand mortars aren't going to be super useful in the fights.
Yeah, usually we see that swashbuckler very, very strong against artillery, right? Like falconets, that kind of thing, and Diaruga splitting those units up to make it not effective. But we do see 1 for Khan arriving in the pond here. Looks like China going to push forwards now with this with this boat.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know about Chinese warships, also the warhead has missed like 3 times in a row against that warship, which is kind of annoying. But for anyone who's unfamiliar with how Chinese warships work, the Fuchuan is actually basically a Chinese frigate and galleon hybrid, so you can train units from this as well.
Oh wow, that's a really powerful boat.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Azamp now up to the Industrial Age, though. He has 2 shipments available, and I didn't think he was intending to play this out in the Industrial Age, but a second look at his deck reveals 20 Mace Holton that can be sent infinite times. So it's not like he doesn't have shipments, right? He's got 7 Skull Knights, which, by the way, scale every time you age up, they get upgraded. He's got 3 Tluk Canoes, which are very strong, and big Coyote shipment, as well as lots of mace that can be sent multiple times. So it's not like he's lacking shipments, but still, here comes Diaruga. He's pushing in now with those mortars.
Oh, the Tluk Canoes!
Okay, nice.
Coming out
this is what we need. He needs to deal with those
these Tluk
mortars.
Canoes are really, really good.
Oh dear. That was the broadside. Now bringing the low HP boat back. Ah!
Not the greatest control, but they are going to help him defend this a little bit. They're not going to be as useful against the land units, but they certainly will deal with that Fuchuan. Oh, but the hand mortars, of course, do a lot of damage to them, so... Actually, yeah, maybe I'm not so convinced with the Tluk Canoes anymore. However, he can attack the trading posts from this position, so that's pretty nice.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, this is kind of an awkward position for him. Looks like 20 mace popping out now. You got to remember that this Industrial Age sort of helps the Aztec War Chief a lot as well. 3,000 HP with that War Chief dance on him, so he's going to be really, really annoying in these fights.
Constantly
and he does quite a lot of damage as well. So
trying to take out the hand mortars with the
canoes. One almost goes down, 10 HP on that. Looks like the Fuchsia one's going to get in there, try to pick that off.
But it looks like they can actually dodge the cannon fire. They keep
they are quite mobile, but yeah, it looks like they're all going to go down. Just 10 HP left on both of those. So not as effective as you would like to have had them be, I think.
But 7 Skull Knights have arrived now. But, oh god, if they arrived just a little bit sooner, they would have defended these Mace Halton. But are going to clean up these Meteor Hammers very, very quickly. But that's a lot of ranged infantry, and those Skull Knights will have a hard time getting up close enough to do any damage.
Meanwhile, the War Chief just soloing the army by himself over there.
Yeah.
Buying time for those Skull Knights. But A's not paying attention. 2 Skull Knights go down. A third one might go down before the War Chief manages to revive. But yeah, I think A's is gonna hold here potentially with this War Chief respawning. And gonna be running in there. Well. Swashbuckler attack picks off 3 skirmishers.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and he's held. And there's 1 hand mortar left, which I think he'll be able to deal with. But he did pay a lot of shipments to deal with this push, and he also surrendered the trade route and a few buildings for it as well. And now he doesn't have any more shipments. I suppose now that the dust has settled, he's dealt with the push. We should take a look at the economic unit population. It's 36 each, so very, very even. But remember, Dairugga does have 2 stagecoach trading posts and a bit of map control here, so and he's building this back. He's also building a dock, or has built a dock on this island here to repair the warboat and potentially train more of them. Town center now coming down with a couple of villagers to try and provide some anti-ship attack on this pond and regain control of it, so to speak. But actually very even military population. But Azamp has the advantage of fully upgraded Mace Halton, which I'm, just amazed that he managed to fit that upgrade in. But these very, very strong. A few Eagle Runners here. That is a lot of Meteor Hammers, though. I'm not sure there's enough. Oh, pardon me, the Skull Knights. They're not Eagle Knights. They're gonna. Oh, there are some Eagle Knights there. Okay, should be fine with the Skull Knights.
Yeah, I think he's all right. And of course, the War Chief will be able to help out in these fights as well. Gonna come in and tank those cavalry forever.
Damn, where are these mace coming from? They're just spawning forever. Like
you just get so many shipments as Aztec, with this War Chief always being alive with all his HP in the fight, and you're getting the 3 times aura on every single unit you kill. Yeah, like, look at how much XP he gets when he kills these units. It's absolutely insane. Yeah. So this 20 mace shipment is so much cheaper than a normal military shipment as a result of that.
That's a good point, actually. Aztec in the early game have so much XP because of the warrior dance, but also here you get that aura constantly bringing it back into the fight, and it's a massive tanky unit. That's the explorer, right? So okay, perhaps the shipments haven't dwindled out just yet. Aztec really able to field a lot of them, and also bringing warriors into the fight, which the fencing school. You're absolutely right. When you click on the warrior, you can see that the fencing school upgrade does benefit it. So there is that. But the Fakan going down. It looks like that town center did go up and has denied the Fakan here. And finally, this last mortar that has been plaguing him all game is finally destroyed here. And this is an interesting spot to be in. It seems quite even. Indeed, Aztec slightly higher in terms of economy and is in the industrial age. Yeah,
I think I kind of want to favor Aztec a little bit here. Also, I really like that Dairugga's using this gold mine here instead of the one back at home. Because as we talked about a little bit already, there's not a lot of gold on this map. And if you're stuck in the Fortress Age, you don't have the old Taunt reforms or anything like that, he's going to need as much gold as he can get while he can get it. So getting it now while he has control of that part of the map is quite good for him. But I think just in general, at this point, China losing these trading posts, behind this he doesn't have Porcelain Tower. He went up the Confucian Academy. He's not going up to the Industrial Age anytime soon. And, Aztec is now Age 4 with these insane unit shipments and fully upgraded Age 4 units. And 2 town centers. I think Ace is in a really, really strong position here overall.
Yeah. Oh, Flying Crows coming in, but the Skull Knight's going to make short work of those. Unless they can... They're all, let's take a look at the HPs. Yeah, he's going to quickly clean them up. Oh, dear. This really doesn't look good for the Roga.
Yeah, it's not looking great. Skull Knight's going to get on top of the skirmishers. A batch of Cav going to get on the Mace Halton, but I think there's just too many Mace Halton here. A War Chief and the Skull Knight walking up.
The Mace
unfortunately, fencing school doesn't affect Skull Knights. I can only imagine how insane Fast Industrial
God,
would be if it
they
did.
would be nuts if that affected them. That's an interesting point. But God, Mace Halton are glorious, man. These fully upgraded, they look absolutely wonderful with their sort of.
They do look pretty cool with
look,
champion upgrade.
I think they're like mimicking peacocks almost with their sort of with the spread. But yeah, that champion upgrade is too much for Diaroga, and that is going to end game number 3. Azamp picks up his second victory in this best of 7 series. God, I was wrong about that. I said, okay, Aze does not want to go all the way to the industrial. Completely wrong. And he got there, 20 Mace Halton, sent it like 8 times, and stabilized, and then pushed out with the continued shipments and a fairly equal economy. That is the story of this game. Azamp picks up the W. Let's take a quick look at all resources gathered. Actually very even, and in the end, Diaruga was ahead. But either way...
In economy? Sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah, Diaruga ahead in economy, but still, it's when you've got the Mace Haltons on top of your economy, that's even...
Yeah, and you've got to remember, too, that that doesn't include shipments or, like, dancers and stuff like that, so if you take that into account, if you look at, like, the shipment timeline, like, Ace is ahead by 3 shipments, which is... What's 20 Mace Halton worth? Quite a lot of resources is the answer. I don't want to math that out right now,
your
but
quick maths. What does that cost?
A lot.
That's a dramatic pause, and then
I think it's 1,400 resources. So, that's an extra 3,000 resources on top of that. And he's got villagers on the fire pit dancing instead of gathering resources and stuff like that. So his economy is actually quite respectable.
Yeah, that's a fair point to make as well. But let's head on out of this and get into game number 4. Hi everybody, this is future Interjection stepping in because past Interjection didn't do a very good job of explaining. This was supposed to be a best of 7 series between Diaroga and Azamp, but the Ruga had to go, so instead Soldier is stepping up to the task to replace him. Big thanks to Soldier, otherwise we wouldn't have a SmackDown, but without further ado, let's resume the video. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2.0 SmackDown. We're going to try it again. This time, Azamp has kindly said he will play again, but versus Soldier. So we have a brand new opponent and a second best of 5. So I'm interested to see how this plays out differently, because we get to see some of the civilizations that Ace has already played. Perhaps we'll see him do similar things. Perhaps we won't. One thing is for sure, the score is not 3-1 as indicated by the scoreboard here. Let's reset that because our opponent is no longer Diaruga. Speaking of Diaruga, Soldier has quite a different style. So we will see how this works. I think Taunt 21 coming out, he's impressed by the fort wagon. It's quite a funky thing to be starting with, and I suppose we'll see where that goes. But heading towards the middle of the map, it would seem, which is what we saw the first time around. Likewise for Azamp, and is going to try to block with the villager again. Perhaps we'll see the pillars come down and things like that. But actually, Soldier going to place that fort wagon more towards the entrance there and not in the middle like we saw last time. So this villager, still helpful. It can gather food here. It can build a manor house later here, so less walking time later, and indeed start herding as well. But those are the fort placements, and let's take a look at the explorers, Maito. What are they up to?
Well, Soldier going for an early trading post. Looks like Ace is also actually going to go for a trading post, but in the middle of the map, which allows him to get these goats pretty uncontested. So I imagine we're going to see 3 villagers in Virginia Company from both players.
Yeah, it seems quite solid, right? Especially when the game goes so late, you can get a really, really solid boom with the extra villagers from Virginia Company, or VC as some people call it. Indeed.
I'm a little bit concerned about Soldier's fort placement, because I don't know if it is actually defending anything. It's like sort of covering this middle choke point, right? But not entirely. And other than that, it doesn't really protect anything. There's no resources near it. I mean, there's a handful of trees, I guess, but that's not really important.
Or even getting the early pause, just like in the previous series as well. So Ace's build completely identical, as he has time to think.
Yes.
I had no idea what that was about, but clearly it didn't take very long. Yeah, we'll see what that fort ends up doing. I mean, anything coming through the middle of the map will be denied. But as you said, Aza's fort is a bit further south, and he can just go through this other choke and enter the base sort of that way. And there's no resources nearby this, aside from perhaps just wood. We'll see how it pans out. But Soldier, that was his decision. He's going to place it there. And I really need to delete all of my decks one day. Yes, Aze, whenever you see him on stream, he's like cycling through thousands of decks just to find whatever it is that he decided to use. I wonder how often that delays his 3 villager shipment. He must be quite good at picking his deck before that villager shipment becomes available, given that he has to...
Yeah, I'd imagine, like, normally you sort of memorize where the deck is, but then you make one new deck for SmackDown, and all of your deck positions change, so...
Yeah, they all shift wherever, because it orders them... I don't think it orders them alphabetically, or maybe it does, I don't know. But either way...
It doesn't. I don't know what kind of system it uses, but it's very strange.
I think it's... Who knows? I'm tempted to say it's chronological, like the new decks appear at the bottom. But if that were true...
It's not either.
Exactly. Aze would be able to find his decks much more quickly. Who knows? But,
I remember... sorry to continue on this, but I remember a friend of mine tried to figure out exactly how it functions, and it's like... It's semi-alphabetical, but then it's also not at all. It's like if you include very simple names like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then it will be alphabetical. But if you change like anything like 1L or something and then 2, 3, 4, 5, like it won't be alphabetical. It's really weird. I don't get it.
No,
it has to do with like the number of characters and stuff and all this weird shenanigans. But
okay.
Anyway, both players up to the second age now.
Yeah,
is aging with the bishop this time.
Oh, interesting. Okay, let's take a look at that. Yeah, the Philosopher Prince from Soldier, which costs 100 food less, and you also get 100 food less. So going up with that, slightly quicker than usual perhaps. But Azamp going up with the bishop. Let's take a look at their decks. Azamp, he has the same deck that we saw last time, right? With the infinite rockets, heavy fortifications, even little bombards in here.
If we remember last time, he was a little bit slow on the age up compared to his opponent, just because he got that 700 gold shipment a little bit later. Because he has to send 700 wood and 5 vills first. This time around, though, not going to be the case at all, because you're going to have that shipment ready right away. And you got to remember, too, that, your base isn't really under any threat in this sort of game mode, so the shipment's just worth more than 500 food, so there's no reason not to go with that, I guess.
Yeah, you can definitely eke out a bit of extra something from your politicians just because everything will be safer. Absolutely right, that is the case. Let's switch on over to shipment sent, though. As Maito, you pointed out earlier, 3 vills followed by the Virginia Company, which I'm sure we're going to see a lot of houses going down very, very soon. But market now coming out of Soldier there. Azamp's already constructed his market. But what we do see in base, the macaque now coming through to scout and see where the villager positions are. This is relevant because a barracks coming down out of Soldier. Gonna see some early aggro here.
Interesting. And I think this is because he's seen that the fort is in the middle of the map, which means that the base isn't going to be as easily defended. There's a handful of, not as easily defended if he doesn't make units, which I feel like is sort of what Soldier's anticipating here. However, a few musketeers coming out, going to be picking off 1 vill, it looks
does he get the vill? Yeah, it does. Yes, he gets the villager kill there. A nice pickup, and the explorer tanking all that damage. But we might see that returned in just a moment. Soldier, okay, starting with pikemen here, and actually has more pikemen in queue. Not going to be training any ranged units that are good at killing villagers here. I wonder what these pikemen will be for. Certainly can take out this market next to the barracks there, but not really a lot of value, things to kill when you're up against the British, especially if they send a Virginia Company. You don't want to be killing those manors simply because they can sort of rebuild them at a cheaper price.
I think he hasn't realized that this market has actually spotted everything that's going on, and he was maybe just hoping to make a lot of pikemen and just walk into the base and like snipe the town center or something, right?
I see. Right, and sort of go in there and pick it up as he's aging or something. A nice timing with the pikemen. But okay, it's been scouted. Maybe he'll have to change up his plans here. Musketeers going to force those pikes away, and even going to defend the market with 3 muskets.
Yep, not something that the pikemen have an easy time dealing with, for sure. But I mean, at the very least, like this is still going to be a little bit of threat. Also, there was apparently some longbows at home that were maybe trained from the fort that just got killed by these Asars. It's a
Yeah,
little
and
bit
he
unfortunate.
picked up a villager as well in that base there.
Yeah, so this has not been the best start in the world for Soldier for sure. Those pikemen now walking home. Gonna be giving up
walking
ideas.
past the fort, so he's gonna lose
Ouch,
them.
that's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how you adapt from here as Soldier. He's sitting on 800 wood and no other resources. I mean, yeah, I'm really not too sure. You kind of have to go up to Fortress, but now that your like timing has sort of been shut down, Ace is now up to Fortress himself, but like Soldier is going to be so far behind the curve on this.
Yeah, you know, all those pikes are expensive, right? He's going to have fewer villages because he can make less mana as the wood was invested in the pikemen, and also that food is going to slow you down for sure. But what he can do is, got high siege, he can come in, he can perhaps deal with this trading post with a few pikemen there as well, so he's going to get some value out of them, but for sure is going to be delayed. Let's take a look at text being researched here and see what politician he has chosen to go up with. The Adventurer, which will grant 7 longbowmen to Azamp when he hits up. Is now almost halfway aged there. Soldier, though, now sending 5 villagers. He has sent 600 wood as well, and because of that, will probably be finishing his boom here very, very shortly. But has not sent 700 gold, which is not going to allow him, therefore, to age up. A few longbowmen now coming in, so transitioning into some ranged units. Is going to finish off this trading post, but then can perhaps do some damage to villagers with the longbowmen. There's a couple of villagers on this hunt, which are now, by the looks of it, going home. They know they're not safe there, and they're going to head towards safety. Back in base, Musketeers being a nuisance again. Might be able to, yes, be able to pick up another villager kill. No, yeah, they do. They pick that up there. Let's switch over to units lost and see what has happened. 2 villagers from Soldier. Not great here.
Yeah, and just look at Azamp's macro too. Like he's gonna go straight up to industrial behind this. Soldier hasn't even started going up to Fortress. Still waiting on that 700 gold shipment to come in to age up most likely. And by the time he hits Fortress, Ace will already be industrial.
Yeah, and then suddenly...
along with units harassing his base.
Exactly, and you'll have to deal with all of the heavy cannons and things like that that come with it. God, the unit's coming back in here. Soldier, your villagers. Oh, no. Yeah, going to pick up. Thankfully, they do have great coats on them now, so they're quite tanky. Doesn't lose any villagers there that time around, but units are definitely being a nuisance. Back in Azamp's base, Minutemen have been called, and that's going to force away the longbowmen and the pikemen for the time being. A church now going down for Azamp, so fully intends to send religious freedom by the looks of it. Pardon me, not religious freedom. I think it's a different name for the British, but certainly
already sent the Glorious Revolution, actually.
Yeah, the advanced church card, which will give him access to the Rogers Rangers and Highlanders that we mentioned before. Looks like he is going to be able to pick up. Not quite. Oh god, longbowmen of such long range. Doesn't quite get that Vil pick up though.
Yeah, he will manage to clean up this manor, though, which is a little bit of a nice thing for him. I think, or no, he might be a little bit concerned that there's units coming, or maybe he's just going for these vills on the bottom side. I'm not really sure. But at this point, I don't know if he's identified yet that Ace is actually aging. These Highlanders, well, wait, actually, is Ace aging? Never mind.
Yes, he is.
Ace is not aging.
Soldier is aging, pardon me. Yeah, he's
Soldier
not
is aging.
But
yeah,
what he is doing
but
is
Ace has actually forgone the idea of going up to industrial.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit surprising to me. But he does have the Highlanders and the Falcons out already, so this is definitely going to be a really hard timing to hold as Soldier while you age up.
Yeah, not ideal. A really, really powerful unit, the Highlander. They're going to be able to adequately defend the Musketeers. Takes down the Explorer there. There are quite a number of longbowmen, though, which are good, right? They're going to be able to take down the Highlanders, and they might be able to stay out of range of those Falconets for quite a while, considering the range here, and the Falcons are quite interested in these buildings. Yeah, the Highlanders trying to retreat away. They don't want to be in range of that longbowman. And here taking even damage from the fort nearby. Getting out now.
Asars on the flank. Just waiting for the Highlander numbers to get whittled down a little bit.
Yeah, then perhaps they'll go in there and take out those Falcons, I would imagine. Looks like Soldier is preparing for something. Perhaps Minutemen. As he ages up, I imagine he'll get 7 Longbowmen as well. But that's quite a way off. That's half HP Town Center, bringing the Cav in here, trying to... Oh no, the Longbowman! He was trying to use the range on them to take that down. Okay, does manage to take out a Falconet. He's going to get the second one. So nicely dealt with. Picks up the Falcons. And now he's going to get on out of there with the cavalry.
Yeah, keeps most of his Asars alive. He loses some, longbows for that, but definitely a good trade for him. And, he's up to Fortress now behind this, with 2 shipments available.
Yep.
However, A is halfway up to Industrial now,
yeah.
so...
Semi-fast Industrial with a little bit of a Falconet push just to keep them on their toes. Does lose the Falcons and the units there, and Soldier in a great position, but you are right. He's going up to the Industrial Age, and A's, as we know, has a very well-equipped deck for this, and has decided to get the second trading post here. I think he just got that pass as well, which is going to be good, and possibly could even afford Mercantilism. Has a lot of people on gold at the moment, though that probably for the Rogers Rangers, which costs, I think, 2,000 gold for lots of skirmishes, as we saw in the previous game. Soldier, though, let's take a look at his deck. Currently massing Longbow and Hussar, but I worry that they will not stand up too well to rockets, little bombards, and industrial age units generally. But Soldier's deck, here it is. He just sent 1,000 wood. He's now up to the Fortress Age. Does have 2 rockets, the Infinite Shipment in his deck. Not quite as many units as the Azamk, but has an Infinite Shipment in there. And as we saw in that previous Aztec game, Infinite Shipments seem quite strong, especially 2 rockets. It's not a bad shipment at all. Certainly not as good as 3 or perhaps other Industrial Age shipments, but it does mean he gets to flesh out his deck with plenty of other shipments in the Fortress Age, and just gives him the extra flexibility, I suppose, but still reasonably equipped to do work in the Fortress Age with that 2 rocket shipment. But it looks like Soldier, Longbowman coming back. Not quite sure what he wants to do here.
Yeah, just looking at his macro, it looks like he's maybe considering following up to the Fortress himself.
The Industrial, you mean, yeah.
Did I say Fortress, sorry?
Yeah. Oh, okay. He's going to put down a... We know what you mean. It's fine, Mite. So a town center coming up in this location here. Going to pick up hunts and mines nearby. Some extra safety. Looks like, though, back at home, villagers a little bit threatened by Dragoons and Vet Huss.
As well as Rogers Rangers walking in behind there.
Oh god, if they come now. There's no there's no like shipment noise, or normally we're alerted when a shipment's sent on the UI, but this is a tech. There's a couple of vills there.
And 20 longbows coming as well. This is going to be a really hard timing to hold.
Yeah.
Soldier does have the resources to go industrial, but I'm not sure that his town center, which wasn't repaired, by the way, can even survive long enough to get up to industrial.
Is raiding in the south, but you're absolutely right. That's not a lot of health. And he's got the resources now to age. Thankfully, he has a second TC, which is about to be created. He can queue the...
Yeah, it looks like he's waiting for that before he queues it.
Yeah, it seems that's the case. But that's a lot of stuff. This is a really solid timing from Azamk here. 8 Hussars, 20 Longbowmen, Rogers Rangers. This is absolutely incredible. Oh, no! Soldier!
Gonna be a painful raid.
Yeah. Coming forward. No garrison point here. The Longbowmen teeing up the bow, but not very strong against Hussars, as we know. We'll flick over to units lost, and it's going to be a lot of villagers. Actually, it's quite an even number. Both players have lost a lot of villagers. There was a really solid raid for Soldier in the south, so perhaps not. Both players have lost 11 villagers each, although now up to 15
well, I mean,
with Soldier.
Ace could have gone for the villagers, but decided the longbows were the better target. And definitely have to agree with him there. Just looking at the military population, like, it's almost an insurmountable difference at this point. Soldier is a long way off of getting to industrial. When he does get to industrial, he's only got these rocket shipments. He doesn't have any units left to really defend them, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I think he put all of his eggs in that early like cheese basket with the side racks and the pikemen that just got easily spotted out by the market. And at that point, that's already when he was like, all right, I'm kind of far behind, and it's pretty hard. It seems like when you fall behind, especially, oh my god, there was a dock going up in the middle of the map. When
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
when you fall behind when you're doing an aggressive build, when there's a fort wagon on the map, it's pretty difficult to get back into it, just because if you can't break the fort wagon, then your opponent's just going to be really far ahead in tech, and there's no timings because you can't break the fort, right?
Yeah.
Either way, though, it is Soldier, of course, had no time to really think about this game mode. We just sort of called him in on very short notice, so
yeah, we basically
this is the warm up game for him.
That's right. We basically just said, "Oh, can you play?" Diroga can't anymore, and he was like, "Sure, I'll play, but might not be ideal. I don't know this format, but he's a good sport, and he's doing it anyway." Let's see though if he's figured it out for game number 2. Soldier's a smart guy, very strong player, and I trust that he will be able to figure this one out. And also, he does have the civ advantage now, Maito. A's won with British, and now must pick his civilization first. Let's see what civilization he picks on Baja California, and then afterwards Soldier gets that sort of counter pick.
It just occurred to me, talking about Soldier as a strong player, I suppose he's actually the best American player now that H2O has sort of retired.
That is true. That's an interesting thing to say.
And that damn side market. Yeah, completely ruined his cheese.
Ladies and gentlemen, Azamk has selected China. And in response, Soldier gets to play Aztec as his counter pick here. We've seen this matchup before. In fact, we've seen it twice now, I think.
Yeah, this will be the second time. Ace is really sticking to his plan with each map, seems like. I wonder if we'll see the same fort positioning. Although I think he mentioned to me after that game that the side fort didn't seem to accomplish very much.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's get into this.
I'm sort of interested to see what Soldier has in mind, because I know that he's played like a fair bit of Aztec in the past, but I don't think he's played much Aztec beyond the colonial age. However, though, you have to remember that Puma Spearmen do have a lot of siege, and if you would just assume that the fort is going to keep you 100% safe, and then like 30 or 40 Puma Spearmen and like 10 Coyote Runners come into your base, you could still be in trouble. Yeah, I mean, they definitely are a lot better siege units than pretty much anything else you can get in Colonial, so
they do.
It's an option that I would not be surprised
Puma
to
has
see Soldier
incredible
go.
siege. They're absolutely bananas. So,
yeah, they're crazy.
Let's see how this goes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 2 in this best of 5 series between China and Aztec. Well, actually between Azamk and Soldier, but those are indeed the civilizations being played. Spawning on the left-hand side of the map in the color blue, we do indeed have Azamk. Let's see where his fort wagon goes. Also, the monk.
Yep, that will definitely be telling. For the moment, it is content to sit at home.
It's going. We'll take a look at Soldiers as well, but it looks like it's not going to be a side fort. It's going towards the middle of the map, it seems, pathing around these trees. Soldiers also going to the middle of the map as well. Both have very, very strong heroes this game. Soldier, or pardon me, Azamk, is going to put down a trading post on the top of the map here, and it looks like Soldier, we'll see where that Aztec War Priest goes, but these forts, looks like Soldier going to be in the middle here, but, oh, no, that's a Disciple. I thought this was perhaps the fort wagon. Where is the fort wagon? It's going down to the south. It's found the Aztec
It's been spotted.
It has. The question is, do you stand and siege the fort? I guess, though, once it goes up, it's going to have so much HP anyway that you're never really going to go in and sort of finish it off. Okay, looks like Soldier going to have a very aggressive fort placement. I really like this. It's sort of almost as aggressive as Azam's fort we saw in the previous game, sort of over here, but it covers the middle a lot better, which is more, you know, towards resources and that choke. But yeah, Azam gonna bring the fort all the way home by the looks of it. He's seen this forward fort placement and wants to be defensive.
Soldier decided to stop attacking it, which means Ace can now begin walking back, and it feels like he might be thinking about placing it somewhere like over here where he can control a lot of the resources. Like last time we saw him place it sort of more on the side, where he doesn't control as much, although it influences the water a little bit more, but obviously that only matters if water comes into play, so we'll see. Although then again, looks like he's changed his mind again. Maybe he's figured, like, well, I mean, it's Aztec, he's going to be aging up super fast. with, like a forward fort, maybe I should respect the fact that he could just all out rush me if I place my fort somewhere really aggressively.
Yeah. But oh God, it was interesting. Like he was forced to come home, and then it looked like he was gonna go, like you said. But it's been 2 minutes now, and he's not placed it at all. So it's really important, it seems, to consider the fort placement. It's such a powerful building, and starting with one, I think, is you have to give it a lot of thought. But ultimately, Azam coming home now with his fort, and probably going to place it in base, as you are saying. The shipments now coming in. Soldier, 3 villagers has just arrived. Let's take a look at his deck and see how prepared he is for the late game here. So, it's going to go over a few shipments that I don't immediately recognize. Ruthlessness.
Yeah, Ruthlessness is not a card you typically see in any Aztec deck, but I suppose it's not terrible.
Basically,
He doesn't have infinite 20 maces, which is kind of the big sort of fast industrial card that you need if you go industrial. He also doesn't have like the Eagle Runner card, the one that costs gold that gives you 4 more range. Only has he only has night combat, doesn't have night attack or HP. So yeah, his deck's not really that great for later in the game for sure. Like he's definitely going to be focused more on the mid and early game. And yeah, I'm not quite sure how it's gonna work out. Actually, it looks like he's aging with the warrior to the second age. I don't remember what we changed about the warrior. Wait, which one is that Skull Knights?
Yeah, the warrior is Skull Knights.
I'm thinking we're gonna see some sort of cheese again, but I'm not sure how effective it's gonna be.
Yeah, with the fort wagon. So, well, when you're pushing in, like, what are they going to do, really? Like, with the fort there, it's just so easy to defend. But,
it's definitely going to be some sort of timing. Like, you can't just walk straight in when those 2 Skull Knights pop up.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so perhaps build up a few units, maybe Puma, as we were talking about earlier. But Azam going to begin the game with good faith agreements, like we saw in the previous game. So clearly intending, if it was just like the last game, to go up to the industrial age. We'll see that fast industrial, and we'll use the French consulate to get some resources there. But this is going to be very slow. He's aging quite late. Aztec almost up already. And A's not going to have a second shipment immediately. He does have a shipment available actually already right now, so I guess that's because he has that trading post. His opponent doesn't. But that XP curve going to be slowed down, and I wonder if that would make it an issue dealing with a timing or aggressiveness or something like that.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Those Skull Knights for now just going to be walking over towards the trading post, just get the safe building down. It will sort of reveal that he's gone up with Skull Knights, but that's not a super big deal. It's kind of obvious with this slow age up anyway.
And he might as well do something useful with them for the time being.
Yeah. I mean, like, the Skull Knights alone don't really signal that any sort of colonial plan is coming. Just because it saves the fast age politician for Fortress, and it's not like you needed to age with, for Fortress. It's not like you needed to age with, like, oh no, that 700 wood shipment. Oh no, it's not like you needed to. It's not like you needed to age up with a war hut or anything because you already got the fort. So the 2 Skull Knights by themselves don't actually really mean all that much.
Good faith agreements coming in. Definitely looks like a repeat of last time. We'll see how he handles it. Villagers almost across the map now to give her that 700 wood. And I guess going to use these coyotes to go harass these disciples for sure. But I wonder if he'll do some treasure collecting, since you can't really go into your opponent's base too easily just yet. Although maybe you can get some raiding done. You just need to avoid the fort. But either way, going to pick up this treasure. 30% Explorer or Hero hit points. That's really, really strong for both players, and manages to deny Azam that. Let's see where these coyotes go. Possibly do some raiding. There are some more coyotes out. He just needs to, as I said, avoid the fort. It's very, very strong. 300, well, that's anti-ship damage, but 150 damage there. It looks like they're going take a wide berth around this native village. Coyotes coming in from the top. coming in from the bottom as well. Raid on both sides. We see
Yeah,
Azam
it looks like
sending...
he might get one Vil.
Yeah, let's see. That Vil there.
Actually, snare it. Come on. It looks like okay. Yeah.
Oh, the tree.
He didn't realize the pathing was gonna get blocked by the tree. So that villager does live to chop wood another day. But yeah, like this just seems like it's really slow so far for Soldier.
Oh, the
maybe
fort! No! Oh god! He's blocking the wonder though.
that is almost 3 dead coyotes off of those 3 volleys, or 4 volleys. And okay, it looks like I honestly have no idea what the plan is, to be honest, from Soldier at this point. Gonna be applying literally 0 damage to the wonder in transition, seems worth. Also constructing a trading post. And yeah, he just feels like he doesn't have any units. And even if he did have units, I don't know if the fort's breakable, so...
Yeah, it's such a strong building, right? Meanwhile, though, Azam just going up to the next stage. Looks like he's going to punch these villages a little bit. 2 Skull Knights, they're now coming in here.
Yeah,
a bit of damage to the village.
I don't think he has to be too concerned about skirms or anything popping out here. He's seen that the Summer Palace is going to be the wonder to the 3rd age, so he should be aware that, like, industrial is sort of the plan with that 1,000 food from the age up, and we're just gonna have to wait and see how Soldier chooses to adapt to that.
We will see. Centuries being called, though, or irregulars, pardon me, and going to take down these Skull Knights. Not too impressed with how much damage has been achieved from, you know, the early Skull Knights and the couple of early units. Let's take a look at units lost.
Yeah, it's been pretty underwhelming for sure.
Yeah, Soldier, he's lost 9 Coyotes and a Skull Knight, and his opponent has lost sort of 4 Disciples and a Fang the Tame Coyote. No villagers going down, so really trading off all those units for not much gain. And as a result, I think Soldier not in a great spot. A's now in the Fortress Age here, and has quite a lot of resources stacked up. 1,000
soon
gold.
To be industrial.
Exactly, and can get that food for that industrial age up. There it is on the floor now.
I mean, behind this, Soldier's gonna get Stagecoach. He's got his 10 warrior priests. Looks like he's gonna be going up to Fortress himself. But like as we've already said, like his deck is just not built for the later stages of the game. And it seems like he's gonna have a rough time against these early sort of industrial units. That poor Skull Knight. Okay, he's gonna live. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think of this at the moment. It feels like Ace is definitely in a great spot here. I mean, he's gathering from berries, but who cares when you're going up to industrial, right?
Yeah, he just needs to get the age up in queue, and then perhaps he can go find some hunts. And well, once he's industrial, he can start getting those units out and push out for food. But actually, Baja is quite a good map to fast industrial on, simply because it has berries, right? Ideally, you want more hunts in your base. But not all the maps are like that. But this is one of the maps where you do have extra food in base. It is just sadly in the form of berries. But food is food, and that's going to help him. To Soldier's credit, yes, he has now got Stagecoach and is about to age as well. 10 Warrior Priests, also very effective. And he's got his upgrades in. So the villagers are
Hen Mace Holton in transition. That's a rough shipment to have to send. Oh, this monk being sneaky, trying to get a town center up on the bottom side of the map here.
Is that going to be
get spotted by the coyote?
Forward spawn point for his military shipments, perhaps? Maybe we'll see the Confucius Academy again, or something like that. But he sent the 10 Mace Holton, and that is going to allow him actually to well, actually, no, they're across the map here. He's going to be raiding them, so this isn't too bad. You know, A's going up to the industrial age. He has no units on the board, so these mace can be really annoying and deal a lot of damage. But the trouble is, like, you usually can come in from any angle, right, and do damage to villages. But because of the fort, you just, like, so much of that is extra, just sort of, you can't go near it. You just cannot go near it. So raiding
you absolutely cannot. This town center is going to go up, too. It looks like it's not going to be able to get denied. Even with the second coyote coming in, even if they were to get close to killing it, he's going to age up before it dies. So Definitely up. He's realized it's up as well.
Yeah.
Noticing that a little bit too late.
And Confucius Academy in as well. So we are going to see shipments spawn at this very, very soon. Oh dear, he's calling GG. He's not pleased.
Yeah, it's a really rough situation for him. And behind this, like, you can see his macro. Like, he's also intending to go up to industrial himself, but his deck is really not built for industrial.
Oh god!
And here come the Rattans.
So many of them as well.
And this is
yeah.
yeah. That's I agree. Yeah.
Oh god. Oh, it's just so brutal. Oh dear. He's gonna.
It's okay. You're allowed 2 warm-up games in SmackDown. You're allowed 2 warm-up games. It's only fair.
All right. So the best of 7. Pardon me. Starts. Oh goodness me! What is going on? Oh dear. The best of 5 starts now. That was just the first 2 games for warm-up.
We wish.
Yes. Well, that's yes.
But these Jaguar big buttons gonna be at least saving the base
But
for a little while at
villagers.
least.
Oh,
Not
dear.
the villagers, no. And he's still committed to trying to get up to industrial. I imagine we're gonna see 10 petards in a boat popping up at some point in the near future, while Soldier is trying to get up to industrial. And yeah, it's gonna be awkward for sure. Minutemen being called from this town center, because why else do you build a town center on the south side of the map except to call Minutemen aggressively?
Yeah. Coming in with Arquebusier, taking out some villagers here. Mace Halton coming in behind that. The Explorer is there, so this should be reasonable hit for him, but only going to be met up, you know, with the Mace Haltons. Pardon me, the Rattan Shields. They're just going to come with their buddies. They're coming in around the side, and those Arquebusier.
And I'm staring at Ace's shipment, and I'm also staring at his coin total, and I'm also staring at his lack of a shipment point in Soldier's part of the map, so he's not going to be sending the petards yet, sadly, but going to be some other sort of unit shipment popping up from this town center any second now. And Soldier, you know, he can't get up to the industrial age still. He's got no villagers on food at the moment. He's got no income. And with this next skirmisher shipment, I think this might be the end of the game.
Yeah,
And yeah, Soldier's build just not quite well enough thought out for this map, as well as the deck perhaps not quite the best choice. But yeah, we'll forgive him. I imagine he'll have it figured out by the 3rd game. So
yeah.
Fire Pit gonna be going down, rendering Warrior Priests useless. Should just use them to fight at this point. Yeah, there we go.
Button.
Warrior Priests are actually quite good at fighting, and another Jaguar big button. So actually, he is gonna hold this. But again,
He never got up to the industrial age like he was intending.
and I don't know if he's been training villagers either, by the looks of it. So he's in a rough spot for sure.
Yeah, not ideal.
Yep. Thankfully for him, Ace has not been able to change his water shipment point yet, so he's not going to get petarded yet. But I'm still holding out hope that somehow the game ends with some petards.
Yeah, you just want to see buildings go flying like before.
That's yeah, it's cathartic.
I mean, let's take a look at the scores. He's not too far behind Soldier, but behind Azam rather. But God, the issue is that industrial age, right?
Yeah, it's a big problem. And just like look at the economies too, like with how many villagers he's lost and how he's not been training villagers, he's pretty far behind. I mean, to be fair, he can replace the villagers really quickly with Fertility Dance at some point in the game if he ever manages to stabilize. But the lead is so great at this point that stabilizing seems like it is going to be a challenge for sure. And yeah, the units get cleaned up again by these
Chang
Chang Down.
Dao. They look so good with their hats now. They're like... They got like spikes on their hats. God, I really like the. You don't get to see the guard upgrades and what they look like all that often, but when you do, they look awesome. Looks
Yeah,
like
they're pretty cool for sure.
Consulate now coming in for A's. So
Yep, gonna get that factory.
Yeah, get that working. Could even make artillery from it, heavy artillery. I wonder if you can toggle it to that. You must be able to, right?
You can, yeah. I think it's better than normal heavy cannons. I'm not 100% sure. Or there's something better about it. I'm not really sure. Or maybe it's that the I don't know. There's something about the factory and cannons that's good about China. Maybe it's that maybe mass production affects flying crows or something as well. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, that would be interesting. I wonder what the wording is on that upgrade. Maybe it like the flying crows that spawn for free, perhaps.
I feel like mass production affects flying crows, but I'm honestly not certain.
Fair.
But that would be some good synergy for sure.
Looks like though it might not matter either way because that's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of siege, and there's nothing here defending.
And you know the game is over when you feel like you can make lazy rice patties when you have complete map control.
Oh dear.
Complete control of the map, and you're like, well, I don't care. Just gonna build a rice patty so I don't have to worry about my vills for the rest of the game.
But maybe that's in a way safer because you guarantee they're not gonna die, right? They're next to a fort.
For sure it is, but like,
a dead vill is better.
Would you rather build a rice patty or would you build a castle? I feel like you usually have a castle.
Slow gathering vills are better than dead vills, Maito. That's Azamp's plan. He knows he can afford to get away with it.
But castles, defend your vills or build a town center. I don't know. Whatever.
But forts do the set. No. Okay,
it's okay. The war chief is going to be solo killing this army by himself. He killed like 7 units there by himself, so what a beast.
A lot of them are quite low HP as well from the swat. Oh, there you go.
Here we go. Here we go. Here's the end of the game. Yep. GG. I hope.
Coming in now.
Yeah, all these buildings are the dead.
So what are they
actually, with the war chief coming in, well, he doesn't have swashbuckler actually, so yeah, all these buildings are going to go down. What were you going to say, sorry?
An El Mete in here as well. Damn, God, when did they turn up? I guess he built the, yeah, there's a monastery in the back there. Okay, what are the key targets here?
Anything.
The villagers trying to escape to the north town center, presumably, but the El Mete, still quite respectable hand attack, 40 damage there, can chase them down and kill some villagers on their way out.
I feel like I might need to put this petard shipment in my China deck.
Yeah, you're liking it?
I kind of forgot that petards get more siege damage when you get up to industrial, and it seems like it might be quite nice against all these players that like to go for really greedy like water booms and stuff like that against China. You know, they always fully wall their base, but they never wall the water. So if you just send 10 petards into their base from the coastline with 2,000 siege damage and you blow up all of their buildings, maybe it's quite good. I'm not really sure.
That's interesting. That's why I love Age.
It seems like an underrated card for sure.
You can adapt. It's an RTS where you can adapt to the meta just by having different cards in deck. But Soldier, he tried his hardest there to get back into the game. He got up to the Industrial Age in the end, sent that 7 Skull Knights, but is no match for what Azamk had built up there. El Mete at the last moment, the petards coming in, really delivering that final blow. But a well-executed strategy again from Azamk. And I think Soldier still adapting to the format, but we are very grateful to him for playing basically on the shortest possible notice. We just said, hey, do you want to play? And he said, yes, I do. And he did. So I'm not really sure how much thought he's given this format, but I do want to reiterate that he is a good sport.
Yep, definitely not a sore loser about this either. I mean,
yeah, I don't think you.
How do you get mad about just losing to 10 petards in your base?
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, he definitely handles losing better than Dairoka does.
Anyway.
Maybe we should get
moving on.
Moving on. I would like to see Azamp versus Kaiserklein in this format. That sounds like it might be fun. But let's take a quick look at all resources gathered. You can see A's just ahead pretty much the whole game. Soldier, he sent those early military units. you can see, but really didn't get a lot done with them. And then from there on out, we hit the industrial age, and you can see towards the end of the game, A is just very much in the lead. But that is going to be the end of game number 2. All right, then, let's see what Azamk picks. He has to pick first because he won the previous game. Ottoman.
Okay, this is something that I was sort of expecting to see sooner, because fast revolt is a thing, and also like you get control of the TPs and everything, like just literally everything synergizes just so well with whatchamacallit, with auto here. Like you get the forward shipment point, you get control of the TP line, you get to just go revolt and stuff like that. You get to lock down the pawns here. Just seems really, really good. I've really been waiting for someone to play India though, and just like build a fort on like one side. Like if you imagine them to build forts on New England, build like one fort on the side of your opponent's base and then one fort in front of your opponent's base. Would be kind of funny.
Yeah. I kind of want to see a fort and an aggro fort like positioned together.
Just right next to each other. That sounds like a pretty unbreakable wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to game number 3 in this best of 5 series. I think Soldier has finally gotten it. The first 2 games he was finding his feet in this strange, interesting new format, and big thanks again for him to stepping up to the challenge of Azamk on such short notice. But the score is currently 2-1 to Azamk. Let's see if he has found his feet. We'll check his deck in a moment, and of course Azam's as well. But the forts, where are they going? Okay, Soldier heading straight across the map, probably to this location here where we saw Aze put his fort in that previous game. Looks like Aze is going that way as well. Are we going to see forts just pop down next to each other? I wonder.
It's a possibility, for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. And okay, there's the placement from Soldier, just right on top of this choke here. Going to stop anything coming into his base. The only way into his base will be through this side of the map. And this is quite close to the pond, which does defend against boats if they sort of spawn and then come towards the fort there. Looks like Aze will have a similar placement, but his is going to be further up the route. And I actually really like this, Maito, because okay, it's not in that choke, but it's close enough, so that's it's going to provide some protection. But really what it does is it stops his opponent from going up the trade route, right? Which means Aze has basically all these trade posts behind it, and you can't really get to them unless you sort of go around the other side. That sort of gives him a lot of control over that route, and indeed over these 2 ponds as well.
Yeah, I just want to point out the foresight, too, on Aze's part. He did this in the last series as well, on one of the maps. But normally on this map, I think you'd normally want to build one of these 2 trading posts first, because it puts you closer to the treasures. But A's instead going for this trading post on the right side, where there's most likely going to be a fort. So get that trading post down as soon as possible so that you don't get denied building that trading post later on with the area damage denying you the fort and just like killing your explorer and all that stuff. So guarantees that he gets that trading post.
Ah, that's really clever. I like that's why you're here, Maito, to point out the really interesting stuff like that. He's a clever guy, Aze.
Is indeed
shoot the TP. Yeah, this is
If
Age of
only.
Empires 2, I'm afraid. Did you know that they do that?
Oh yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, the castles just shoot arrows until the building dies. It's brilliant. But no, not the case in Age of Empires 3. Okay, Azamk, let's take a look at shipments sent. Has gone up with 3 villagers, and likewise from Soldier as well. We'll check their decks in a moment. But A is going to be aging with the Philosopher Prince. 400 food age up, but 100 food cheaper. Let's take a look at Aze's deck here as the Ottomans. So full colonial age range of options, including schooners here. So potentially something on the water, go fishing, but does have a bit of extra fortress age potential as well. Slightly fewer, pardon me, when I said fortress, I meant industrial. Plenty of industrial age cards there. El Mete, the 2 factories, 8 hussars, and 2 great bombards. So with those hussars, could well see a revolution. It could be strong, as you mentioned at the start of the game. We'll see if that is the case. Going to pick up 2 stray dogs here, but could really do anything with these shipments. I'm interested to see how El Messi and that kind of thing would pan out. But let's take a look now at Soldier. He is aging up with the Quartermaster. Going to go with the traditional 400 wood, has now just gotten that in queue at the normal time France would age up. So what we do know is Ottoman aging up very, very quickly. And yes, let's take a look at Soldier's deck. So he has a lot of industrial age cards here. I think this time Soldier fully intends to play this in the industrial age, and those are some solid shipments. He's even got 4 culverins in his deck, which actually is a really interesting choice. Not every civ has 4 culverins, only a few of them, but France is one of them, and that's going to be quite effective against Great Bombards. And I'm just imagining that first game against Daruga, where it basically came down, Daruga had 4 heavy cannons, and Azam had 3 rockets. Those culverins are going to be really solid if it comes to a situation like that.
Yeah, and I mean, you definitely will see great bombards out of Ottomans in any sort of industrial or revolt-oriented strategy, usually. Well, maybe not always in revolts, but you do see them a fair bit of the time. And the 4 culverins definitely going to be very good against about that. 90 food, not going to be soldiers, unfortunately. Really? But yeah, it looks like A's does have 700 wood on the floor, actually.
Okay, so not 700 gold. Not
no, it
looks like aging up.
Looks like he's going to be investing in more trading posts first, maybe. Also trained some hussars from that fort just to harass. So a little bit of the mind games here. Like, he's like, all right, soldier, I haven't made units the last 2 games. What are you going to do now when I do make units?
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to do that now. And that's the beauty of starting with the fort.
Yep. And it's also just one of the things you got to watch out for when you place your fort in the middle of the map like that instead of in your base, and then still decide not to make units. Also, a sneaky Rax going down in the back here.
Yeah, keep that hidden.
But yeah, this is buying Ace a lot of idle time and resources that are going to be slowing down Soldier's build quite a bit, while his 700 gold comes in. Actually, did he train more units? He trained Grenadiers, because you can train Grenadiers at the fort. Okay.
Only as Ottoman or British, though. But that is true. That's, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, what?
Yeah, that's it. Because normally you wouldn't make a foundry. It costs 300 wood, which is so expensive just for these sort of mediocre units.
To be fair, as Otto, you would make a foundry. But yeah, as other civilizations, maybe not.
But still, you essentially, it's all 3 military building types, and Grenadiers going to clean up this trading post very, very quickly. And
yeah, and
he'll have
they
to watch
keep
out
some
for.
of the...
They have very high siege, and that could be an issue for Soldier. He's trying to clearly go to the industrial age.
Yeah, they keep on a little bit of the pressure here, too, just because of the main base, although their pathing is a little bit weird. Please don't walk next to the fort. Okay, there you go, fixing the pathing, so they walk the other way around the pond. Yeah, they do apply a little bit of pressure, though, to this base, for sure. Like, they're going to force Soldier to have to make a little bit more units, be a little bit more careful about his building placement and stuff like that. Other than that, though, they're not going to be overly helpful in fighting or anything.
Yeah, they just give a lot of siege is all I'm really getting from these at the moment. 654 siege attack. A couple of muskets from Soldier to defend. Definitely necessary if he does come into his base here. 5 more coming out now. And Azamk, 700 food to follow this up. So has now got that that industrial age in queue. Pardon me, fortress age in queue. Let's see what politician he goes up.
Do Grenadiers use their ranged attack or their siege attack against boats? I've never seen that before.
That's interesting. I think they would use their range attack just because every other unit uses its ranged attack.
Right, but melee units use siege attack. So,
but these are ranged units.
Yeah.
I don't know is the answer.
But they're also siege units. I don't know.
Obviously, it would be better if they used their siege attack. So if the Grenadiers had any common sense, they'd pull out the flaming torch.
Yeah. Either way, though, like, neither player actually has warships in their deck. Perhaps just because of the presence of the forts, or perhaps they just want, like, those extra industrial age cards instead. Also, maybe as a result of there being forts, because, the boats just aren't going to be as useful. But, yeah, it looks like Soldier trying to keep these trading posts under control a little bit. Does manage to at least deny this trading post for a little while. Also going to apply a little pressure to this one. Gonna be forced off by these Abyss guns pretty soon, though. Although the Hussars coming in. Gonna be cleaning up the Grenadiers. Also gonna be picking off an Abyss gun with these muskets. Or almost. Good micro there, splitting off one of the muskets to finish off that low HP Abyss gun.
God, they're both on like 1 HP each, those Abyss.
Yeah. Oh, does it go up? Does it go up? Doesn't go up. Okay, so he manages to deny the TP again, and he'll manage to clean up the TP on this side, so... That's good trade for Soldier, for sure. Aging with the galley makes a lot of sense. Controls sort of this part of the, well, just controls all of the resources around here, so...
Oh, he did get it up. I guess he aged, got the 100 HP, and then finished the trading post.
Yeah, I guess so. Sometimes the Foundation there will revive your Explorer if you're close enough to it. He might have also rescued it with the Hussar, I didn't quite see, but...
Either way, it is now up.
It is going to go down, though, but it will net him more resources than he probably would have got for canceling it, so...
Yeah, well, he got at least one pass there, and the XP for finishing the construction. So there is that. But 2 Falconets has now arrived from Azamk at the forward fort. Yes, there it is. And he's got a few Tartar archers here as well to defend them with. Those Musks not going to want to stay too close. Hussars now coming in. There is the galley nearby as well, but I think he'll be able to trade these Hussars off for at least 1 cannon. Wow, they're going down very fast. I guess very strong anti-cavalry there, and that galley as well. But does manage to pick one of them off. Doesn't seem like the best trade in the world, but has got...
Yeah, definitely could have been better, but, I mean, you can't complain too much about that. You're trading off these Colonial Age units for really powerful Fortress Age units anyway.
Yep.
And it's going to buy you time for this trading post, which might be another pass or 2, and stuff like that, so you can't be too upset.
That's true. It does sort of compound itself into an extra pass, potentially. You're absolutely right there. Azamk followed it up with 1,000 gold. I think maybe these are still on XP. I have no idea, but he's gotten a lot of shipments and is going to, by the looks of it, go up to the next age with that coin, potentially. We'll see. Stockpiling a lot of resources there. Likewise, Soldier also sending 1,000 coin, now eating these...
Oh, Gentle Pete! Coming in.
What's Gentle Pete? Oh, the cat! this guy. Gentle
Not
Pete,
so gentle towards the Falconet, but
no.
Not gonna matter either way.
Gentle Pete, not such a fan of the Falconet, clearly. Both
Nope.
players. Oh, Dragoon's coming in from the back.
Not gonna save the TP though. Though he does get an additional pass on that TP, so that's good.
Nice.
And we'll manage to clean up the Falconet, cavalry archers, potentially this trading post as well. The galley will actually save 1 cav archer.
Yeah, retreating to that. It's like a giant outpost. In fact, it's much stronger than an outpost.
It's quite strong for sure.
It's a mobile outpost that can garrison units and move them around and all sorts, and has a broadside attack. Absolutely wonderful. These Dragoons coming in to do some damage versus the villagers, but they're quite near a town center, and of course, that galley here. Looks like he's just going to clean up that Explorer and then be on his way. But Soldier now going up to the Industrial Age with the Tycoon, which will grant him 1,000 gold. And this is where Soldier's going to be really, really strong. And take a look at how many shipments he's stockpiled, Maito. He's got 2 shipments available, and wow, look at all these shipments here. What do you start with? He's even got Thoroughbreds in here as well for like the super late game. Like, when do you ever see that card on a 1v1?
Not very often, if at all.
I wonder if he'll get around to sending it. There's a lot of strong shipments in here.
I feel like he probably won't be able to send it this game. It feels like you normally would still want to send Refrigeration and Royal Mint before that, right?
Yeah.
And your other cavalry upgrades. So it's definitely one of those shipments that's going to be a long ways off of being sent. I also just want to point out that Soldier is doing a really good job here by not canceling the TP. I feel like a lot of people, when they lose their Explorer, that would just cancel the TP. But against Ottomans, you really want to just leave that foundation there. You want to force the units to waste time sieging that, because otherwise, you know, the enemy Explorer is just not going to be able to place that trading post.
Yeah, that's true. You force them to come up and do something. Oh, no, the Explorer!
Oh, the crack shot, though.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he's industrial now. Managed to get that out before dying. And gonna finish up these Abyss guns, I suppose, with the melee combat Dragoons. Let's take a look at what Azamp's aging with. He's got all 3 town centers, and if we take a look at Text Complete, has been investing in, we see, has got the settler build limit increase, and has got his millet system, and as well as the upgrade to millet system. So these 3 town centers are going to be pumping out villages. Well, when I say pumping, Ottoman don't really pump villages out, but they are free, and he has got the upgrades. So gonna get quite efficient, and if he can drag this into the long game, Azamp going to be in a solid position. He's going to have those nice big economy. In fact, in terms of recalculated economic unit population, Ottoman really not that far behind the French here. I guess France has been doing a lot of aging up, so has lost a lot of villager training time. Second town center now going in for the French player as well. But first industrial age shipment has arrived. 6 cuirassiers, the Spahi getting on top of the goons, but the cuirassier coming in as well as a batch of cuirassiers here will be absolutely fine to deal with the Spahis. Janissaries coming out now, going into hand combat, their swords glinting as they move, and the Dragoons trying to get away here. But ultimately, I think France going to be absolutely fine in this engagement.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to come out quite all right from this fight. Also worth noting that A's actually doesn't seem to have any intention of revolting, just because of the fact that he built these 2 town centers. I think normally if you're going to revolt, just building 2 more town centers to get another like 5 or 6 colonial militia is not really worth it. So it seems like he's sort of intending to just play this out normally. Maybe he'll go for a revolt much later in the game as sort of like a really strong timing sort of thing, but it's not his intention to just like win the game off of the revolt.
I think we should like...
Oh, the factory wagon!
Oh no! I don't think it can call the Minutemen. But even if he does,
okay, it goes up really, really quickly. I think it will go up no problem.
Okay, but there's still just units here, right? Like they can siege it down afterwards. Thankfully, has those Janissaries nearby. These town centers can spawn Minutemen. It's lost some HP. Yeah. Okay, it builds fast. 3 great bombards. Holy cow! That's a lot of bombards. Oh my goodness! Look at that.
Yep, they are quite good, especially in that position there in the trees and stuff like that. Very hard for the cures to get on there. Soldiers going to be forced to retreat. Oh my god, what was that range? That infinity shot.
I just saw this cannonball fly through my screen. That's amazing.
Yeah, it just hit something off screen.
They must have. I think they'd locked on and they maintained the line of sight with the villagers in this artillery foundry, which is how that works. So they are able to.
Great bombards have really slow rate of fire compared to other units and other cannons.
Yeah.
So when you lock on, you got to be really careful not to move them because they will eventually fire as long as those units remain in line of sight. But if you move them, that's gonna get cancelled.
Yeah. Which is... Oh God, I should do a tips and tricks on how that range actually works. But yeah, nice shot there. And it now looks like Azamp in a great position. He's got all 3 TCs up. He's still maintaining this trade route. He's not really... he's got most of these trading posts. He's now going to get this 4th one by the looks of it. Quickly cleaning that up with these 3 great bombards. And he has 3 great bombards, as well as 2 factories. The second one now arriving as well. So really, really solid economy here. But Soldier, let's take a look at what he is doing. Looks like Soldier has gotten his factory wagon and has sent 10 villages as well. So in terms of economy, he is still actually keeping up with the Ottoman player, but Ottoman does have this long trading route. Looks like there's a dock going down on this water. That's interesting. Okay, so going to get monitors and frigates and things like that. The monitor will be really, really solid. Where's that factory? Let's take a look. Oh dear, I think that is in range, Maito, of the pond. So the monitor will be really strong against that. But
oh yeah, it seems like it is. Although you do have to scout it first, so
that's true. You need to, both of them. You need to know where they are. Currently, that's collecting food and has got the whatever the cannery upgrade available, so that the food income is thick and fast. But let's assess their positions. Let's see where they're at in this game. So as I mentioned, Ottoman all 3 TCs and doing really well. Both players have a solid economy. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the nice thing for Otto is he's not going to have to switch to mills and plantations quite as quickly as France does. Also, Petard's being trained.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to not get sidetracked by A's, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like you just like you start talking about something and you're like clicking around the map and you're like, all right, I guess this exists.
Oh, look at this fight! 4 culverins on top of the bombards, and there's the culverin's really solid against boats as well.
Oh man, and yeah, like you can see what Ace had in mind here was just gonna be like he was just gonna juggle the bombard sort of in and out of this galley, and just keep things like just keep up the pressure that way. But yeah, the 4 culverin shipment totally shuts that down.
Yeah,
that's a really big loss for him.
but those culves are almost dead, and you know they've lost quite a lot of HP. But still, having 2 culves on the map, yeah, it did shut that down really strong.
Bye.
Here we go. Okay, is he gonna lose?
That's a dead fort.
How many Okay, they don't do that much damage to Peter. I guess they do have a lot of HP still.
Yeah, they have a decent amount of HP. Ace, you just have to right click. Okay, oh no, it's not gonna go down yet. Okay, well, whatever. It's the moral victory.
500 HP. Did lose one, but it looks like the monitor.
One monitor picking up a culverin.
Is it
one thing?
A culverin. Oh, I see.
He picked
right.
up a culverin, yeah, because he got the bombards, so he wants to keep those safe. One thing I was gonna point out before we got distracted was these guard upgrades are really difficult for France to get. Because the 2 units you want to train the most is you've got the Royal Guard skirmishers and the Royal Guard cuirassiers, which are of course fantastic units, and you want to make them, but I mean, the guard upgrade, the Royal Guard upgrade will be really good for you if you can afford it, but it's really hard to afford it. Whereas Auto, you know, they've got the cheaper sort of guard upgrades on their Janissaries and the Apis guns, which will make them a lot stronger in the early stages of Fortress here, especially since we can already see that Soldier's got to be switching to mills and plantations. He's got like 50 vills on wood, so
yeah,
it's sort of an awkward situation for him.
It looks like we will see that switch be successful, right? Because Soldier in the middle of the map here, fighting with mostly a skirmisher army, which is going to be very strong against these Janissaries, and it doesn't look like there's any impending doom coming from the Ottoman player just yet. Like, all of the military units have been nicely equalized, so and both players will be in that position. We see, you know, pretty much a ton of vills on wood for A's as well, though these factories. Oh, they're tasked to coin by the looks of it. Oh, he's researching mass production. So it looks like these factories are going to be switching into heavy cannons. Okay,
yeah.
We'll see. That's interesting. Actually, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because all you need to do now is just sort of push in. Is that an outpost? Yeah, he's creeping in with outposts on the coast here to gain control of that. Oh,
yeah. Oh, Soldier has to be really. Oh, okay. I don't think he's gonna be. I don't think these Hussars have spotted the factory just yet, but they will spot it in a moment. They've spotted it now. So that factory is going to be under fire from this monitor for sure. Of course, it doesn't just outright kill it. Like, he can repair it in between volleys and stuff like that. And it's only going to be really threatened if there's maybe a second monitor out here. So maybe it's not a big deal for the moment, but...
It's hard to gain control of the water again. He needs, like, some sort of artillery to push this boat back. And then he needs to build outposts and stuff. And this is definitely the time to start walling up. Now that you're consolidating all your vills in one place... on the mills and plantations, you want to keep them safe.
Yeah, walls would definitely be a good thing to add at some point.
This is turning more and more into like this is how for me at least treaty games usually go. You sort of like eventually get your factories down and you get this crazy switch and you start training. You start sending shipments like thoroughbreds. This is a really long game.
This is a really unfortunate plantation placement, potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, as well as this one, I'm not sure if it's quite in range of the plantation, but it looks like it might be.
He's harassing the villagers at the moment, it seems. But he has got gendarme clichés.
There we go.
The gendarmes are now created, so that upgrade is in, and he has got thoroughbreds done really as well. So
and also worth mentioning that although the skirmishers aren't Royal Guard, they do have counter-infantry rifling, which will mean that these Janissaries will drop really fast, and these cures could be really scary. Actually, there's not a lot to deal with this right now. I mean, there's some colonial age Hussars with cav combat But I don't think he's going to want to be fighting with that. Actually, the fact that he's building all these Hussars, look at his macro too. He's actually going to be... Okay, so he hasn't researched vet Hussars because he's actually going to be revolting soon. He's just queued it. Here we go. He's going to run in on these cures.
Oh, wow.
Does Soldier realize that he's not running for the cures, actually. He's going for the base.
There we go.
There's no reason to go for the cures because there's nothing for the cures to kill. And, yeah, this is a really, really strong timing. There's not a lot that Soldier has to defend this. And it looks like the Colonial Militia are going to be cleaning up the cures at home. And, yeah.
God, they're so disgusting. They have ranged multipliers against cavalry. It's just disgusting. Oh, God. Oh, wow. Colonial Militia, very, very strong. But, yeah, look at these Imperial Hussar now just tearing through the base. These villagers, they don't know what to do. They're scattering. They're like, oh, running around. Except these guys. They're still woodcutting. No, they're not anymore. But,
yeah.
these...
And behind this, too, Ace has made sure he's got a contingency plan to make sure he still has an economy in this game.
You can build the fishing ships. That's great. God, I love Cav Combat as well. The decision to get that before revolting is really, really nice. And the cannons are tasked to coin currently, but have the upgrade for the mass production as well. God, look at all these units streaming in. I think that's going to be it for Soldier.
Yeah, I don't know how you hold this. And, yep, that's how the cookie crumbles when you play an unorthodox game mode against ASM.
Oh, God, I just feel bad. Like, poor Soldier. Oh, no. Maybe we'll get a bonus game out of them. We'll see. Now that Soldier's figured out the format, we'll ask them. GG. That is GG. Oh, wow. I really enjoyed that one. That went in a very strange direction. Well, a very interesting direction. Very economic late game direction. Looks like we're going to get a final bonus game. Oh, wow.
Just thinking, like, walls would have been good here, but it's really hard to wall up when you've got boats controlling the coast, or not exactly a coastline, shoreline, I suppose, is more accurate.
They're just sitting, yeah, there's just this giant, like, ranged, sort of mobile mortar just sitting in the pond, like, and everywhere you go. He tried to control the water, right? He put these outposts up to get some anti-ship damage. You can see that mortar, that boat is actually very low HP. It was even lower than that. He's just built a dock to get some repair, but only a single falconer did that. It basically took that boat out, but then it used its special attack to take down the falconet. And you're right, it's just so hard to get back there. And then the revolt happened, and I wonder how many villages he revolted. You could look at the military unit population, 142. So he clearly had quite a few villages. Let's go to the timeline and see exactly how many. Yeah, he had 78 villages when he revolted. So that's an interesting way to revolt. Let's get on out of this game, and we'll talk about it as we start the next one. But for a lot of people, at least when I first started Age of Empires 3, my thoughts on revolting were that you want to do it once you have 99 villagers, because that's when you get the most colonial militia. Of course, now that I'm a much better player, I'd know if you have 99 villagers, you're probably settling in for the late game, and the revolt is no good.
You're probably already Imperial. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've just got a great economy. Why not just train really strong units? But yeah, the revolt is actually a lot stronger really early on when you have very few villagers. Not because you have few villagers, but because your shipment curve is still young, and you can, 10 Imperial Hussars early on is much more of a power spike, especially because all of your Hussars get Imperial. But that was a really different kind of way to do the revolts.
No, it's definitely a thing you can do. Like, we saw, like, before A's revolted, that Soldier had to build, like, he built like 4 or 5 mills and plantations each. On top of that, then he's trying to get all of his upgrades and stuff like that. All of that is really, really expensive stuff. And meanwhile, Ace is just sitting there, and he's like, all right, I'm not going to research any Hussar upgrades. I'm not going to build any mills and plantations. I'm just going to train Hussars while you're doing that. And then I'll just get, like, a giant batch of units, and it's just a really strong timing. And behind that, he's got a decent economy too, because he's still got both his factories, he's got the stagecoach line, he's got docks down. So it's definitely just a way to get a lot of units out, or a lot of really, really strong units out at a really, like, weak moment from Soldier. Like, if that game had gone on, like, maybe like 2 more minutes, Soldier would have been, like, completely set up with all of his upgrades and stuff like that. So
Yeah, it just
yeah, it's just a really, really good timing.
exactly.
You've got sort of like two timings if you want to do a revolt, and it's sort of like that timing and the early timing. And it is a little bit all in. Like, if you don't build docks, at least it's a little bit more all in. It's still kind of all in with the docks, but not as bad. Like if you don't win with that timing, you're not going to win. So, but it is a very hard timing to hold for sure. All right, what's the plan for this one?
So this is a bonus game. The players can play any map they like. They can play any civ they like. Azam's already won this series, and therefore the prize. But we will have an extra bonus game because we want to make the most of the Fort Wagon start that Eagle Mutt's put together. And there is that. Any map suggestion? Ceylon.
I don't think we have UI Ceylon, sadly.
We do, actually.
We do,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's in... I don't think it... Wait. Is it included, or do you need the custom map?
There is a UI Ceylon included.
What? I played a Ceylon game for Matchup of the Month a while back, and I didn't find a UI version.
It was added very recently.
Okay, you win. This is clearly UI Ceylon.
Yep. Brilliant. I hope we play on this.
It was actually against Soldier that I played that Ceylon game, come to think of it.
They're free to play whatever map they want. Ceylon is not a great map to play if you're not prepared. There will be a Ceylon SmackDown though. That's why it is. That's why Ceylon exists. And we will have a game on Ceylon. Ceylon will appear once in the map pool when we do the double town center start. The way that will work is you start with your initial town center, but as part of your crates, you'll get a TC wagon.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I think Ceylon is a fun map if both players are mentally prepared for it.
Yeah, right now,
and sort of have an idea of what they're gonna do.
Yeah, we're not.
But if you just get thrown into Ceylon, it's usually like a really one-sided game where one player sort of has a good idea and the other player's like, "All right, I'm gonna do this," and it doesn't work.
Yeah, they can play whatever map they like. Don't worry, guys. We will get Ceylon. There's going to be, as I said, Ceylon for the double town center SmackDown, and there will be a dedicated Ceylon SmackDown where all 7 games will be played on Ceylon. My thoughts for that will be the first version of it'll alternate between ordinary Ceylon and a Ceylon without any fish or whales. So we'll play basically a water Ceylon and then a land Ceylon. Although the map doesn't actually change, it's just the contents of the ocean changes. But I think that will be fun, and I think we'll get Kanisi for that one, and someone else. So we will see. But yes, ladies and gentlemen,
some other experienced water player that might be able to put up a good showing against him on that map.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I wonder. We'll look. But look at this guy charging across the map. Taunt 31 indeed. Damn, he's making his way across the map. Perhaps he'll see that fort super early on. But let's take a look. Yeah, he's seen the fort. There it is. He's not going to do anything about it, though, but at least he can see where it is. Both players, by the looks of it, going to send their forts towards the middle of the map here. What are your thoughts on fort placement for this? Look at them dancing.
The fort's just doing a little dance, yeah. Fort placement... in this matchup,
the middle seems solid, but like we've spoken about before, there are more resources on other locations on the map. But if you want your fort to be relevant as a production building...
Yeah, and it definitely also, like...
Yeah, I like this from Azamk a lot.
It's sort of like also placing your fort forward, especially if you're placing it forward but not all in, is kind of like... It leaves your base open for raids, and you kind of have to train units. Whereas if you place it in your base, you really don't have to train units, so... I don't know. Also, this fort placement from Soldier doesn't really protect any resources, but it does cover a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Sort of covering off this little section in between the native post and the fort, and then from the fort to the tree line is definitely a good point to control, so... I don't know. There's pros and cons to almost every fort placement, I guess.
Yeah, I really like Azam's fort placement because it sort of seals off that more resource-rich side of the map as well. It gives you a bit of control, like, sort of going in that direction for that sort of... west-hand side. Took me a moment there, but I got there in the end. Oh, God, I love watching these fort placements. I'm actually really interested in doing this again, but I am willing to be persuaded otherwise. We'll ask the patrons, actually. I think that's what we'll do. But, yes, let's take a look at the explorers. So if you are a patron, or would like to become a patron, you can vote in the poll. We'll be voting on what the next format will be. And there'll be a choice of probably this one again, or some other SmackDown from the list that was on the Discord. I'm putting all of the most highly voted for options to the patrons. But look at this, Rafu,
Yes.
Azem's Explorer, picking up a ton of treasures here. Picks himself up this one just now as well. And I think Soldier's Explorer is going to be feeling pretty sad.
Yeah, he might be able to live here. Well, maybe not with the lion coming in. But the tiger is going to die, at least. The lion also going to die. Okay, so he will be able to maybe run back to his trading post where he'll be revived upon age up if he chooses to.
Mind
it looks
you,
like he might
the
not
Sioux
do
Explorer
that.
does very little damage, right? Because of that negative multiplier. So actually, this might be quite a fine. This is a fine fight for him.
Well,
he's
I
gonna
mean,
lose.
he's got 20 HP, so he's probably dead, but...
It is gonna go down, yeah. But that is the case. Okay, so Rafu too good for sure. Rip Explorer. But let's take a look at their age-up choices then. It looks like Soldier playing as the Germans. I forgot to introduce the players. Yes, in the color red. Will be aging up with the Quartermaster, 400 wood politician.
No, he forgot about the bishop. No. Well, I'm not sure if he actually forgot because he got a trading post start, but
Well, it shouldn't either way. A solid politician, the 400 wood.
yeah,
His
definitely
opponent's
is.
going up with the Shaman, which is actually a extra shipment. So
Yeah,
Sue
it's
will
definitely
have a
gonna
bonus
be-
shipment.
Definitely makes a lot of sense with Sue. You don't exactly need a lot of wood as Sue, so
You can skip a ship. Wait, how do you? Oh, you don't want to age up with 400 wood because you don't need as much wood. Yeah, makes sense.
So I'm not really sure what to expect from Soldier in this matchup, because Soldier is typically... Well, I mean, we've even sort of seen in this game that or in this series, that he prefers to be the aggressive player, I think, most of the time. And this, especially against Sue in this format, it seems like that's kind of challenging. He sort of switched to food and wood now, but no military build. Well, I guess you don't need a military building. Why'd you build a military building? Okay, let's look what he's got in
forts.
queue.
Yeah, you don't need military buildings.
Exactly.
Axe riders.
But Axe Rider is coming out from the... Oh, this is so annoying.
But there are
popping out from this fort already.
There are pikemen, though, in queue at that fort, so he only has to endure this for a short while until they are created, and he can have those pikemen stationed nearby. Trying to get a house up, though. He's not going to get too many more pikemen without a house. Using a settler wagon to build it. Nice choice, since they have a lot more HP. Where are the pikes?
And construct quite quickly as well.
That's true. There they are.
Here
Can
come
he
the
head them off?
pikemen intercepting.
Oh, no!
Why are they even walking next to the fort in the first place?
Oh no! Don't go that way, Azem. Doesn't lose all of them, but the pikemen do manage to pick up a kill there.
Yeah, and that makes the damage taken from the idle time a little bit less punishing.
It does indeed. 700 wood on the floor for Azamk. Has also sent 5 villagers. We'll see what he does with the wood. Gonna add in a war hut at home with that there. And he's got his market and can get the other upgrades up with the wood as well. Possibly some more TPs for the economic bonus that they supply. Likewise, Soldier has also sent the villager shipment to start. 3 settler wagons, absolutely solid. And we see now those 2 Ulans picking up this explorer. They've gone to rescue him in the north of the map there, and following up with 2 settler wagons as well. Very economic focus here, and that seems absolutely fine given that you start with the fort, and it is very tough. As we keep saying, these games are likely to go longer and longer, so it means that these shipments definitely quite good. Looks like the axe riders do catch the Ulans here, or bow riders, pardon me. Do a little bit of damage before dying, but not ideal. Maito, shall we take a look at the decks? whilst we have a moment. Maybe we don't have a moment, though. These Ulan's not going to go that way. All right, let's take a look at Soldier's deck. Is very late game focused, as we would expect. He's got 6 settler wagons in there, 13 Ulan. He's got the Ulan, that's a really solid Ulan upgrade. The 10 winged hussars, and of course 2 factories and the heavy cannons, as you would expect. His opponent, Azamk in the Industrial Age here. Lots of Wakina shipments and a few of the really powerful War Chief upgrades that took me a while to figure out that word.
He's also got the TP upgrades as well, so
yeah, that's true.
That will sort of allow him, if they do reach the point in the game where it's relevant, he could potentially just plop those TPs down in the middle of the map here on like those forts and stuff like that, make it really difficult for Soldier to push in there, at least without any sort of siege. Mortars could do quite well against that, but it will make his army quite a bit stronger. Oh, the Dops! Are they going to catch them? No, they're going to sneak on out of there, it looks like.
Yeah, he's out. No, there it is! The snare! And now he's forced to fight, and the pikemen and dogs can get up.
But
close.
he's gonna kill the Ulans for this, so it's not. Who am I kidding? It's a bad trade.
At home, though, there's a raid here. Looks like the Vils and the War Hut are happy. Oh no, they are targeting the. I thought they were targeting a deer there for a moment. There. Okay, no village. Let's take a look at units lost and compare. So, no one's lost any villages. Soldiers lost 5 Ulan, but Azamk has lost 4 axe riders and 3 bow riders. That fought earlier on. So, actually, in terms of these raiding and exchanges, everything is fairly even, I would say. Sec, by the looks of it. Okay, let's take a look whilst we have the pause. We can't go to his home city, but can you talk about why would he want a stealthy explorer? That's in his deck. What benefit does that have? I guess it makes it, if you get all of those really powerful anti-artillery upgrades, you can sort of sneak in around the back and be very, very strong against artillery, right?
Exactly, yeah. That's pretty much the only real reason I think you would do it. I mean, I guess you could just stealth in and snare, but I don't think that's worth it for a shipment. So I think it's definitely for like stealthing onto the artillery for sure, yeah. I really want to see what Aze is aging with.
Are you ready?
You don't happen to have that tab open at the moment, do you? Okay, well, we'll be able to check in a moment here.
Text being researched. Aze is going up with the Wise Woman.
Wise Woman, all right.
And Soldier's going up with the Exile Prince.
That makes sense. Wise Woman, is that 1,000 food, I believe?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So that'll make going up to Industrial pretty easy here.
No, I think it's the Bison Lady.
No, you're right, actually. Yeah. That's what I wanted to check if he was aging with. I just couldn't remember exactly what it was. Do they have it 1,000 food age up? I felt like they do, but I must be wrong.
No, I don't. No, we changed...
I know they have 800 wood if they don't use it to age.
No, they do. They do have 1,000 food. It was the shaman, but we changed it to.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, aging with the bison. That's quite nice for him. Gives him 20% on hunting, and also gives him a lot of safe food on top of these TPs as well.
Found your fort. As if it was a secret. Earlier he made... Exactly, it took you long enough. Earlier he was like, what are you shooting at? It's interesting that you know the fort's shooting even when you're not near it. So I think that's really...
Oh no, the pikemen have been lured into the fort range.
You do that in free-for-all as well. You can hear the other players' forts and cannons firing when... Which is kind of... I really like that, actually. Almost as a mechanic.
It's a really cool aesthetic as well.
Yeah. Rifle riders.
Especially when you're playing free-for-all, and you're sitting there and everyone's, like, booming, and you just start hearing, like, boom. Boom.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, someone's dying.
I want to play free-for-all where you have full line of sight. Or perhaps that Buddha that gives you access.
Tards.
Oh, baby, here we go.
I think this is for petards, at least.
Unit seeing
Well, no, that being said, though, he sent 1,000 gold, so he could just train cannons. or go up to industrial. I actually don't know. We'll wait and see. Ace, on the other hand, definitely going up to industrial. Going to be clicking up any moment now. Was pretty obvious from his deck, I suppose. And the villager survives with 2 HP.
Looks like Soldier will be training Falconets there. Let's take a look at text being researched. A is going to go up with the Messenger, which is the fast age politician to the industrial age. And
yeah,
Soldier going to be making artillery.
I'm wondering. I'm really hoping that Soldier just right-clicks Azamp space instead of getting baited into going for this fort. Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay, he is going to be walking towards the base, and this is good because that fort really isn't going to do much to defend this, and killing it isn't really going to like help you all that much. But pushing the base could be difficult for Ace. However, he does have access to some pretty strong Wakina shipments, as you've already mentioned.
Yeah, that's going to be solid against the war wagons here. But a nice composition.
No, don't fall
Soldier.
back for the fort. Just push to his base with your Falconets. No. Okay. Well, he's going to be going to kill the fort anyway. We'll give him a little bit of breathing room on the map.
You'd rather him in his opponent's base there.
Yeah, look how much damage the fort actually does to those Falconets.
Yeah, they're very strong, right? Yeah, this is not. Yeah, I know.
The fort has a really weird firing rate. Actually, it like fires a shot. It like fires 2 shots, and then it sort of like has a cooldown or something. Haven't seen forts used enough to really notice that before, I guess.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's like bang, bang, and then it waits. Yeah.
And then it does it again.
It looks like though these.
So that means that like when you
war
initially
wagons going into melee combat, they're just standing there like the
Yeah.
horse just is so stupid. But
this is looking pretty rough for Soldier though.
yeah, not ideal using war wagons versus what counters them there, and the Falconet's getting cleaned up by the fort. It is a half health, but
So-
the fort's just fine with half health.
It occurs to me that with that firing rate, it's actually like really awkward if you walk up to a fort by mistake, because you just take 2 shots like in quick succession instead of in the normal like sort of slow.
Yeah.
He's got 2 more Falconets out, it looks like, which will help him deal with Wakina maybe. There's not a lot of anti-cav either, and he's got a lot of Ulans. He could go in here, but it looks like he's going to be waiting. House is going to go down. 8 Predator shipment coming in. War wagons just kind of sightseeing, I guess.
Has got 2 more cannons though.
Yep, those 2 cannons definitely going to be helpful, although apparently not against the fort.
Although he could go and finish.
Oh,
the
these
fort.
settler wagons. He does have great coat, so he's might lose 1 or 2 settler wagons here, which is not the end of the world. 1 goes down. Looks like the rest are going to get out. And that's not too poor of a trade for him. So, I mean, A's managed to age up to industrial, right? But other than that, he hasn't he's sort of exhausted all of his shipments already. He hasn't really researched any of his champion upgrades yet. There's no stable. Well, there's a stable going up now for some of those veteran upgrades even. But at the moment, it's not looking like it's accomplished too much.
Yeah.
And
Center
actually,
of
Soldier
power
seems to
coming
be
in.
looking at a pretty. Is that the stealth card?
Center of power is the stealth card. Yeah. So the war chief now can go into stealth mode, but only the war chief. So,
Okay. Well, I mean, he's seen the artillery foundry, right? Like, he knows that artillery is something Soldier is making, so it makes a lot of sense to send that. I don't know how much the big button costs that gives you the artillery thing, but here we go. He's in stealth mode.
Yeah. Currently,
He's going to be slowly walking, and slowly for the war chief is, of course, like really fast
battle
in
lang-
stealth mode. So.
Yeah, he's like almost as fast. He's like a normal cav now.
Maybe a little bit slower, but yeah, he's quite fast for. Oh no.
And Battle
There we
Anger
go.
is in. Oh no! Oh my goodness! What? No, that's just. Oh my god!
That's just mean.
30 damage times 10 versus artillery. It's like one poke, one punch death man. Oh, wow. Oh, soldier, you need to find your hero, and he has to be with your army at all times so that you can see stealth.
This is when you decide that it's no longer worth making artillery. To be fair, that is a really expensive 2 falconets to kill.
Yeah,
with
that's
that
fair.
ship. Like if your war chief does nothing else in the rest of the game, you've just invested in a big button that, I don't know, costs how much? Some few hundred resources minimum. And then a shipment, an industrial age shipment that's worth like 1,600 resources, maybe 1,000 resources at this point, because you've kind of already used your industrial shipments, but it's still pretty costly. Like the 2 falconets only cost you 1,000 resources anyway, so I guess you shouldn't be too upset about losing those falcs.
Yeah, that's true. You know your opponent, yeah, but it's still got to be so surprising. Soldier is just like, oh.
Yeah, you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
All right. Elite Axe Riders finally in that insane industrial. No, I'm just kidding. The insane Fortress Age upgrade.
Well, he does need to get Elite Axe Rider before he can get Champion Axe Rider.
It's true. I mean, you've gotta learn to walk before you can sprint, for sure.
Yeah, you've got to learn to Elite before you can Champion.
And this war chief is just having fun.
Yeah, he's scouting
stealthing around.
Yeah. It's a very fast stealth scout. The fort actually sees stealth, if you didn't know.
I did know that, actually.
Yeah, I thought you would.
It's like is that the only building other than the
Town center. Yeah.
Well, the Egger Fort as well, but that's kind of
not good. Nowhere to run here. So, but this is looking like it's quite a close game. A's losing some villagers here, but he's going to be met by some axe riders to defend them.
Yeah. Although at the moment, like, you say it's a close game, but just looking at the soldiers' unit composition and military population, it seems like it's actually quite a challenging game for Azamp. He's saving up for that dog soldier big button now, but, I mean, the dog soldiers don't exactly counter Have Dragoon. And it looks like this fort was never repaired. It's going to be going down pretty easily. And even arsenal upgrades being added onto soldiers' cavalry now, going to make them quite a bit stronger.
Cavalry cuirass for sure, yeah.
And the resources in Aze's base, not the not a lot of them, I should say. And he's spending a lot of time dancing as well on this war dance. It's gonna kill the Vils quite quickly, but
God, that is a big army from Soldier. You're right. Ranged cavalry.
Soldier knows that the war chief is around here too, just because of the aura on those axe riders. Not that he really should care too much if he's not making artillery, but
oh, he's near. Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
Yep.
He's like, I'm gonna go stand on top of this location now and bring my explorer.
You had aura. Figment of your imagination. Yeah, here comes the scout to find
And the war chief is like, all right,
he'll be gone by the time he gets there. Like, there he is.
Oh, here we go.
Found ya.
I need help.
And he's dead. But he can be revived rather easily with this fire pit, most likely.
Yeah, he's doing it right now.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Soldiers kind of got this game in the bag at the moment, just looking at the military composition and population, and the state of Azamp's resources and base looks pretty not great at the moment. That being said, though, he's chopping a lot of wood. He could throw down several dozen teepees if he sends those cards next, which I believe he probably will. And that might be enough to make his unit strong enough to potentially hold. Especially with a dog soldier big button, he's just sort of holding on to that food right now. He's not training any villagers or anything like that. He's just keeping the food available so he can call the dogs as soon as soldier pushes.
Yeah, and the longer he waits, the better, right? Because you get more more dog soldiers the longer the game goes on. But also, the longer you wait, the more your opponent can prepare. And it looks like Soldier is preparing. He's gotten Black Riders, which are going to be very strong against cavalry.
This is a really scary position for these Wakina to be in. The cavalry moving wait, you're serious?
You know he's age 4. He's got a stealth scout. I think Soldier will realize that when he thinks back on it, but how can you not know?
He's been age 4 for like over 10 minutes.
But it explains why he's not pushing.
there are teepees up here which are sort of restricting the pathing of these Ulans, which is quite good for him. He's gotten a pretty reasonable trade here. The Ulan's still refusing to do anything, apparently.
Just standing there. They're not the best tanks either. They've got fairly low HP.
No,
Come on,
this is actually quite a reasonable trade for
please. Yeah, he's
for
like,
Soldier.
come on.
There might be a little bit of lag contributing to this, but
God, that's got to be so.
the dog soldiers gonna be coming in to counter the war wagons with the 5 colonial, or actually they're elite clubmen.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's how that works. 4 wagons definitely counted by. Oh god, even with all that extra help from the idle Ulans that didn't want to do anything, Ace still decisively loses that fight.
Yeah, it's a rough situation for him. At this point, it's like, you're just playing to be annoying, right? You're not playing to win.
Damn.
Like, maybe if you kill every single villain on the map, you can win, but it's not looking great.
I think we should have that as a caster button. So, like a SmackDown where we get to the point, it's like, I reckon he could win if we deleted every single one of his villages. And then we delete every single one of their villages and see if they can still win. I think that sounds like a SmackDown, to be honest.
That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah,
but
it's a challenge. It's a challenge. But
it might be a little. I feel like as a player, I might be a little bit annoyed if casters were like, oh well, you lost, so I'll delete all of your opponent's villagers, and it's like, what? I didn't lose yet.
Yeah.
You know,
okay,
like if you still thought you had a good chance to win, and then they just sort of handed you the win, you're like, aw,
yeah,
I didn't get to prove it.
I had a lot of fun. That was really fun, and yes, as I said, everyone. If you're not a patron, do consider becoming one. It does support SmackDown and allows us to keep offering these prize pools to get the players together. As you saw earlier, it is a lot harder than you might think, and any incentive is a good incentive. But yes, I had a lot of fun, and if you are a patron, you will be able to vote on the next outcome. So my thoughts on this, here's how it works. We're going to put a number of options to the community on Discord, and all of them can be voted on by everyone. Those top options will then go to you guys on Patreon to decide each week what the format will be. So you'll have a choice of 2 options, which will be the shortlisted ones that did really well in the public votes. And then every now and again, Maito and I will also just have or decide to do a SmackDown that we want to see. So one that I'm really interested in seeing is called Villager Deficit, or settler deficits, and that's where you start the game with 50 settlers, or maybe 30, or maybe 70, but either way, you start the game with a very large number of settlers, and you cannot train any more. So, I want to see that, so expect that fairly soon, because that's something I want to see. I also would like that map done, or that SmackDown done, because it sounds like a really fun community game that we can do on the Escape stream. So we sort of hit 2 birds with 1 stone by doing that. So I'm really looking forward to that. And we have actually done the Villager Deficit in Age of Empires 2. That will be, there'll be a link to that in the description. We did a really fun community game, and it worked really, really well in Age of Empires 2 on the Escape stream. So there is that. All this time, these guys are having a conversation. I have no idea what they're saying. Maito, can you summarize?
Basically, we're just talking about how Soldier didn't notice the age up. He, saw the 2 big batches of Wakina, and he was like, oh, it must be the 14 Wakina shipment plus a batch. Or,
okay, I see.
The 9 Wakina shipment plus a batch. It's like, right. He's like, it's just ASAP timings, right?
Right, yeah.
Everything pops at the same time, and you're like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, Ace, if anyone, is good at that. But surely you would have noticed when the aura, the stealth scout appeared too.
Yeah, but apparently not.
I guess
maybe
you
not
see
super familiar with when you get that card, because it's not a super common card, right?
You see it so little that maybe you don't realize it's an industrial age thing. It is quite underwhelming, to be honest. 1 stealth scout is a bit rubbish, but maybe it should come with some other impressive abilities. I don't know. Yes. Maybe units nearby can be in a stealth too. Wow, that sounds really OP actually. But yes, let's end it there. Big shout out to Soldier for playing today, even though he didn't really expect to be playing, and to Dairoga as well for participating. Shame we didn't get that best of 7 in, but what can you do? SmackDown was good fun. We didn't really have like a solid series, but at least we got quite a few games in there. But that's going to be it from me and Maito. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and we will see you all again.
Adios.